She's a violin prodigy. Her full name is Maggie the Stallion. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
What a kick in the teeth. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. What a gigantic middle finger to the fan base that Jerry Jones just gave to all of Cowboy Nation. Bringing back Mike McCarthy after not just what we saw against the Packers in the wild card round where you were a touchdown favorite and you got blown out by the youngest team in the league, Perloff. It has been the postseason failures since Mike McCarthy got this job. This was not a regular season job. If you wanted regular season wins, you could just stay with Jason Garrett from now to eternity. This was a job to win in the postseason. Mike McCarthy has not done that at a high enough clip. I do not understand why he gets to remain as the Dallas Cowboys head coach.
Well, McCarthy won a lot more than Jason Garrett. Garrett was stuck at 8-8. McCarthy's stuck at 12-5. I understand what you're saying. Of course, this was a great opportunity for Jerry. He had all the public was ready to go. He could have easily made a move here and gotten no criticism at all. So it was an opportunity, and that's why I think he probably should have moved. But I got to tell you, they easily could have backslid without McCarthy. If they brought in Bill Belichick, I mean, where's that top-ranked offense go?
And this is why Cowboy fans should be upset.
They're 7-10 with Bill Belichick.
You're afraid.
Afraid of being bad.
Afraid of, how about winning a Super Bowl? You can't go through life when you have this kind of talented roster. You can't go through life and be worried that you are going to backslide. You can't be worried that you're going to make a mistake. You know, the Jerry Jones of the past used to be this risk taker, and maybe people didn't like that because a lot of those risks didn't actually work out. You know, hiring Jimmy Johnson, that worked out. Trading Herschel Walker, that worked out. But some of the other bigger risks that he has taken, you know, now we're talking about a decade ago or a little less, trading up for Morris Claiborne and the Roy Williams deal and stuff like that. They didn't work out, okay? But this is actually more risky to keep Mike McCarthy because you're not getting a Super Bowl ring. You are not winning. So you have just done the most plain Jane thing. You're running it back. But oddly, you just made your degree of difficulty on getting a Super Bowl that much harder. I mean, it just...
Wait. So you think if Bill Belichick came in, he's winning a Super Bowl next year?
I don't know if it had to be Belichick. I don't know if it had to be Harbaugh. I don't know if it had to be Vrabel. But I'm giving you three good options right there. Yeah. I'm giving you three options that are better than Mike McCarthy.
Who's going to run the offense for Vrabel or Belichick? I like Harbaugh.
Maybe Arthur Smith. Maybe bring in somebody if you actually want to run the ball. Listen, it didn't work out well in Atlanta, but you can just poke holes in whatever I'm going to say. Yeah. I'll poke holes in keeping McCarthy because I've already seen that. I've witnessed it. And I thought that Jerry Jones' statement yesterday that they put out on social media, which I'm not going to read for you because it's long and boring, but the one part of it I thought was almost trolling Dallas Cowboy fans, was saying Mike McCarthy has the highest regular season winning percentage of any Dallas Cowboys coach. Who cares? Who cares? You've got a Super Bowl roster, and you have underachieved now in the postseason.
You definitely don't have a Super Bowl roster, but go ahead. Look at the moves they made this offseason, how excited we got about them. They signed Stephon Gilmore. Not worked out. They signed Brandon Cooks. Not worked out. They drafted Mozzie Smith to stop the run. That didn't work out. Everything we see these guys with the starter helmet, we get so excited. We see Deron Bland with the pick sixes. Players are not nearly as good as we think. Mike McCarthy, to his credit, came in and fixed that offense, and they were really good this year. So
fix the offense. They had listen. Kellen Moore could put up points.
Yeah, no, they were much better this year. They had much more control. They kind of dominated offensively throughout the second half of the season until the very end. Though they got a little cold. But I'm telling you, McCarthy was good. He's a good coach, and I'm not saying I would have kept him, but I'm just saying easily could have been a backslide. We saw the backslide when my buddy Andy Dalton was there. They could be bad. So at least McCarthy gives you a competent, good offense during the regular season. There's something there. Honestly, I think if Belichick came in, it brought Josh McDaniels with Dak Prescott as a quarterback. Eek.
Look at what you just said, though. Regular season. Cowboy fans don't want to hear about that. And they'll look at their roster and say, Dak is an MVP candidate this year. We can talk about is Dak Prescott good till the cows come home. But Dak Prescott was a MVP candidate. We talked about CeeDee Lamb.
Yes. Okay.
Top 5 receiver in the league, in line for a massive payday.
Right. Then it's a hard period and a cliff until you talk about the next player. Who's that? Who's after that?
Okay. Give me, fixing wide receivers in the run game is the easiest problem in the NFL to fix. You have every year, you've got massively talented wide receivers who are coming into the league in droves. From Puka Nacua to Jordan Addison to a million guys year after year where you can find wide receivers. And the run game, give me a break. That's the easiest thing in the NFL to fix. I'll give you Jake Ferguson, who is a good tight end. You want who told us? Saquon Barkley when he joined us earlier last week. I'll give you on the defensive side, DeMarcus Lawrence. Give me Micah Parsons gets comparisons to LT. Yeah, you might have gotten a little bit older with Stephon Gilmore in the secondary. Deron Bland is a second-team All-Pro. I don't want to hear it that the Dallas Cowboys, that their roster was not ready. Their team wasn't ready to play against the Packers. That was the most egregious thing. That's what we should be talking about. The coaches didn't have a good game plan and did not have their team ready to win in the wild card round.
I think they were super tight in the wild card round. All the pressure, people like you yelling at them, telling them they have a Super Bowl roster. They yeah, and actually,
sorry, guys.
75 million Cowboys fans as well, yelling the same thing you're yelling.
Yeah,
I do think they heard the noise and they felt the pressure, and that's Mike McCarthy's fault. That's his biggest flaw is he did not have the team ready to play. I'm not arguing that.
Fireable offense.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying things could get worse with Dallas, and they could get worse fast.
You think Bill Belichick doesn't have a team ready to play in the postseason?
No, but I think if Bill Belichick comes there, the backslide is immediate.
Listen, and that's just one option, right? Bill Belichick would have been one option.
I think you have 3 options. You had Harbaugh, Vrabel, and Belichick. Harbaugh by far would have been the best guy.
Okay, but I'll agree with you because I think Harbaugh might be best for any team just because your offense, you don't have to worry about it. If it's with Harbaugh, your quarterback, you don't have to worry about if it's Harbaugh. But that's what made this even worse is that Mike McCarthy is going to go into next season, unless they work out a contract extension, which I doubt because they let Jason Garrett play out the end of his contract twice when he was the Dallas Cowboys head coach. You're going into the year next year with a lame duck a lame duck coach. Somebody who's going to be on the hot seat from training camp.
Yep.
So if you're going to think about firing him next year if you underachieve, why not do it this year when you actually have this glut of talent on the coaching market? The only thing I can think of is maybe they want to then trade for Sean Payton at some point down the road. I have no idea. Maybe they always did want Kellen Moore to be the head coach and just didn't think he was ready last time. Who knows? But this is a blown opportunity. And I know Jerry doesn't like to take risks anymore. He's, 80, whatever? He doesn't want to take risks. But without taking any kind of risk, he's going to be a perennial loser.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who did a better job last year, Mike McCarthy or Bill Belichick?
I mean, by record, it was definitely
who did
Mike
a better
McCarthy.
coaching job? McCarthy.
Okay.
Belichick couldn't even get a special teams unit on the field. That was a total mess in New England.
Do you realize how, in some ways, I don't want to say patronizing to Bill Belichick, but it is so disrespectful to Belichick to pick out the last year of his time in New England and use that that's been what's going on with the Patriots for 24 years.
Okay.
That's not how it's been with
Who
Belichick.
did a better job last year, Mike McCarthy or Mike Vrabel? The Titans were garbage.
Titans should have been tanking the whole time.
Yeah, I know.
I said that. I'm like, they should have been tanking. Who did more with less? I mean, Mike Vrabel.
He didn't do anything with anything.
Nobody thought the Titans had a Super Bowl roster or anything close.
I know. But my point is, it's not like these guys are a guaranteed Super Bowl win right now. I'm sorry. And I'm not alone on this one. A lot of people think that Belichick might have passed this time. That was not a no-brainer. Bringing in Belichick would have been flashy and won the press conference, but that would have been a lot of risk to the backside.
Well, I'm sure it wins the press conference. He's so
and
boring.
honestly, I think Jerry probably knew he couldn't get Harbaugh. I don't know why. I don't understand why Jim Harbaugh is negotiating with everybody in the league in every possible football league.
The Falcons can get him, but the Cowboys can't.
Apparently, he's working with the St. Louis Battlehawks and the XFL on a contract as well because he's creating the ultimate market. I just don't. I'm not thrilled that they brought him back, but I understand not going Vrabel or Belichick because I'm not sure those guys could win with the team. This is not the Super Bowl roster you think it is.
Oh,
that offensive line. honestly, they're so dependent on Tyron Smith. The offensive line always gets hurt. Their run game was nothing this year, and they can't stop the run. That became very evident. What Super Bowl champion can't stop the run?
Okay, they already have drafted Tyron Smith's backup. It's Tyler Smith. They almost have the same name. And Tyler Smith was the one who filled in mostly for Tyron Smith last season when he was hurt as a rookie and did a nice job. So I can't really go there with the offensive line is what let them down. But I think Tony Pollard wasn't ready to be a full-time back.
But that offensive line has been so up and down the last 2 years. You never know who's going to be on the field for them. It's been quite erratic. I'm not saying it's been playing erratic, but the actual who's actually playing every week. They've had like a new lineup, and these guys are getting old. Zach Martin's 33, Tyron Smith's 34. It's
great.
not so great.
Let's waste the end of their career.
And then Brandon Cooks was not good.
Well, Michael
Gallup has never been good. I just think that this offense, we knew the problem, and we did say it. It's like, if you don't throw to CeeDee Lamb, what are you going to do? So I think with time to prepare for a playoff game, the Packers said, all right, let's triple team CeeDee Lamb and see what they got. And they got nothing.
You want to know who that falls at the feet of? The head coach.
But who is he going to throw to? Who is he going to throw to?
Okay, not every coach has what the 49ers have on offense with 15 different options. Like, you got to do something and find
those options.
You got to create a way. Right, and Shanahan even created those options.
I'm going against my own argument.
I mean, like, it's a lack of creativity all around. And here's why, like, DT's in the chat, youtube.com, said Maggie's 8 o'clock mad at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's because I feel for the Cowboy fans on this one. I do, because we hear from you all the time, and we want to hear from you again at 855-212-4CBS. I hear from you. We hear how frustrated you are. And I think in this case, the fans are right. You had to slog through with Jason Garrett. It's not about the regular season. It's about the postseason. The Cowboys make it about the postseason, and then when they had a chance to make a move, they completely wimped out.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. They could easily win 12 games again next year.
Great.
Keep
adding to McCarthy's win total. What else does it get you?
I was just looking at their schedule for next year. The fact that they got the Giants, Commanders, and I think a sort of getting a little bit worse Eagles team helps them a lot. They do have a first-place schedule, but then they get Atlanta, Carolina, the Steelers, the Browns. This could be another 12-5 team, which is something. It's something, Maggie. I understand. It's not a total house fire.
Do you want to know who? It might as well be. Do you want to know who is most happy about this move? Because it's definitely not the Cowboy fans. Kyle Shanahan. All the people who can beat Mike McCarthy.
I don't think
they're so happy he's staying because he's not a threat in the postseason.
No, people inside the NFL know that Jerry's the problem, not the coach. They're not as scared of Jerry Jones, no matter who the coach is going to be.
Maybe they're just licking their chops now at Dallas because Dallas is an unserious playoff contender. Even with a 2 seed at home set up for you perfectly, blown out in the first game. Just brutal.
I think the internal view in the NFL is Jerry, the way they is too influential on the team, and they're not going to win with him as the owner/GM.
It's funny because he used to be influential in a way that was too risky and did things that hurt the team. Now he's influential where he doesn't want to change.
I mean, this keeping McCarthy is consistent with the way he's done things. He wants to be the man. And so he probably doesn't want Harbaugh in there to be the man.
And this is why I always say Jerry Jones doesn't really want to win a Super Bowl. Because if you can't put yourself to the side for the greater good of the team, then you don't actually want to win. If you can't see that flaw, if you can't see this, if you don't have anyone who can tell you this is a blind spot or you can't recognize it on your own, you're putting yourself before the organization. It's what Jerry has always done.
Yeah, I know.
And that's why
it's called hubris.
Not serious about winning.
He won, and he couldn't stand that people thought Jimmy won and not him.
No, I get it, but Jimmy only looks better and better and better after all these decades later.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is again, he's got the most valuable franchise. He gets all the media attention. Okay, our fault, whatever. He has a gold jacket. It's like Robert Kraft doesn't have. He's not in the Hall of Fame. He's got a gold jacket. He's got everyone's attention. That's good enough. Not serious about winning Super Bowls.
He looked pretty crushed on Sunday.
Oh, cool. So he's mastered that face.
I think you
damn act together.
Again,
that's just a plastic surgery.
I think you misunderstand his ego. I think it's way bigger than you think it is. I think he thinks he's the greatest football mind of all, and he needs a Super Bowl ring to.
Then get a headset and get on the sideline.
You think I just think he looked at the options. He's like, I'm not bringing Belichick in here because I don't want him to get all the attention.
Right, you don't want him to compete.
So the real choice is that we're talking about Vrabel and Harbaugh. Probably couldn't get Harbaugh, and I don't think Vrabel excited him because Vrabel's going to slow down your offense no matter what team you are.
And there's no other person on planet Earth who can coach this team.
You're going to fire Mike McCarthy for Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick? I just don't know that that's such an obvious move. Again, I just want to say it on the record. I'm forced to defend this decision.
No, because you don't think it's a Super Bowl roster. That's where you and I will always disagree about this.
Jerry Jones has not been building Super Bowl rosters. This is a front office problem. Again, look at their moves last year. We got all excited about Stephon Gilmore. Unfortunately, he's past his prime. We got all excited about Brandon Cooks. I don't know why that didn't work. I was really excited about that. Then he had a couple good games, and the Cowboys looked like a more complete team. I will say one thing about McCarthy. He let the pressure get to him and the team on Saturday. Now, I don't know how a coach avoids that, but he certainly did not do a good job of that.
I mean, it's like the Packers went down and put together a nice drive and scored on the first drive, and it was like, oh my gosh, the game's over. Like, that's an awful coaching job.
When your best player, CeeDee Lamb, is crying in the first quarter, I don't know what happened to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, he just lost it.
Had to go to the coach during the season and say, hey, you need to get me the ball more. And not in a diva way, in like he's right.
But then CeeDee Lamb completely had a panic attack in the first quarter. He just wasn't playing like himself, finally settled down. Remember, McCarthy went over to him and said, are you okay, son? I mean, it was like...
I think that you go into a big game with Mike McCarthy, I don't think the players feel like they have all the weapons to win. Like, they don't have the advantage. Like, that's the one thing. You want to talk about Belichick losing a step, can't draft a wide receiver, can't draft a quarterback. I bet those guys, when they go into a game, feel like they are the most prepared team in the NFL. Like, nothing's going to shock us today. And I don't think that the Cowboys feel like that with McCarthy. I don't think he instills that kind of confidence. And the evidence I have is 2 losses to the San Francisco 49ers and a blowout loss to the Packers all in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers is a lot worse than those 2 losses. The Niners are at least a great team. This Packers is the youngest playoff team in 50 years. They're at home when they're a great home team. It's not great, but I would not discount. We're going to fall again in the same trap. They're going to be 11-4 next year and be like, ooh, the Cowboys look pretty good this year. You're going to do it. All the fans are going to do it. Right now it feels bleak. Trust me. They'll suck everyone back in. They'll be exciting next year.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Today's about you Cowboy fans because you just got trolled by your owner. It's a unique move. But he trolled you because he told you that Mike McCarthy has the highest winning percentage in the regular season, and that's one of the reasons he's coming back. Wow. He might as well have kicked sand in your eyes. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. How are you feeling? Or you agree with Perloff? Not a Super Bowl roster. So what do you expect Mike McCarthy to do? He's winning 12 games out there with a bunch of stiffs, according to Perloff. This is a team, might as well just pack it in. You know, just end the franchise. I disagree. I think
I'm actually stealing a little bit of your take. I mean, that NFC East schedule over the last few years, that's pretty good.
855-212-4227.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio, our amazing CBS Sports Radio affiliates who we just absolutely are obsessed with. The free Odyssey app, you can download it. It's crystal clear. Sirius XM channel 158. We see you guys on the phones. Today's about you venting on the Cowboys, or maybe you think this was the right move. We hear from you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. You know, the Cowboys bring back Mike McCarthy reminds me a little bit of a different situation. Remember the Chargers were winning a lot in the regular season, but Marty Schottenheimer couldn't get him over the hump? Then they fired him when he was 14-2. So, and I understand for the same exact reason that people want to fire McCarthy. Couldn't win in the playoffs. But then the team completely fell apart. So I'm just saying, Cowboys fans, there's no guarantee that you could bring in somebody and immediately go to the Super Bowl. It easily could go the other way. You could bring in somebody, you could bring in a Belichick and be mediocre next year. I'm just saying, as bad as today seems, it could be worse.
Okay. I mean, also, Phillip Rivers doesn't tear his ACL in an AFC championship game. Maybe things are a little bit different. I don't know if you can actually compare both of those things.
Well,
Rivers and Dak are two very different types of quarterbacks. I don't love to do that because I think that this is like being afraid. And let me back it up. Being just good enough to dangle the carrot to your fan base is what you're doing here. And if I wake up today and I'm a Cowboy fan, I feel like a patsy. I feel like I have an unserious owner and coach an unserious owner about winning a Super Bowl and a coach that can't get me there. So why am I investing in this team? Why am I living and dying with all of these wins and losses? What am I doing here? That's what I feel. I feel for the Cowboy fan today because what are you doing? They're playing you along. They're stringing you along like some pretty girl who's never going to get with you. It's not cool. It's not right to do to your fan base after all this losing. That's my opinion. 855-212-4CBS. Let's go to the phones. I want to hear from you. Brian is in Houston, kicks us off on CBS Sports Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. Couple of things. Number one, we're never going to have a true threat at head coach as long as Jerry Jones thinks he's the coach.
Right.
And we're probably going to lose, in my opinion, arguably the best defensive coordinator in the NFL right now. So what do you have to lose next season? We're tired of the one and done apologies. We're over it.
Yeah, you're over. I think you should be over the owner saying no, but the regular season is great. Of course, the Cowboy fan knows that. Brian, thank you for the call. Of course they know that. They know the regular season's been great. That doesn't matter to them anymore.
It's been great. It doesn't always have to be great. I'm telling you, this team is on a thin precipice of getting bad. And a lot of reasons why. They're getting old. Their salary cap's a disaster because of Dak Prescott. And they're probably a little bit overrated with some of their stars. So I'm just saying things could easily get worse here.
So Mike McCarthy takes over and Dak Prescott gets hurt. They go 6-10. Now, that caller made a good point. I want to get back to it. I want to get to some of these calls about Dan Quinn and his future and how this plays into it. But let's hit Gary, who's in New Jersey. Hey, Gary, how you doing?
Pretty good, guys. How are you?
Fantastic. Good to hear from you.
Perloff, I'm going to have to be on the train with Maggie because you look at the history of Mike McCarthy. He had 13 seasons of Aaron Rodgers in his prime, and they won it once, and that was like the second year. So, I mean, in the big game, he just can't win it, and it's just repeating itself over and over. It's the same story, never going to end. They need to make a change.
So who would you have hired?
Who would I hire?
Yeah, like what's the answer then?
I would definitely go with Harbaugh if I was going to hire somebody. I mean, he's a guy who's good with quarterback. Maybe he'll keep Dak from throwing, picks, making better decisions. I don't agree with Belichick. I think he's past his prime. I think he should just, get out there and be on TV or do whatever. But I would go with Harbaugh.
Gary, you make a great point, and thanks for calling, and great to talk with you. Gary's a brewmaster. He's got a fantastic beer. Pelican Brewing is awesome. It's smart to bring up Green Bay at this time because Mike McCarthy was never known to be a great big game coach. He was never the guy who was like, who's super prepared, buttoned up, and really punching above his weight class? Mike McCarthy. It's like, no, he had maybe one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing McCarthy does is he came in Green Bay when they were starting to struggle, and he rejuvenated Favre, and then he got the best out of Aaron Rodgers. But that's a totally fair criticism. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say Mike McCarthy is a good big game coach.
Well, that's what he got hired for in Dallas.
He definitely elevated the Cowboys. There's just no doubt about it because they were bad at the end of Jason Garrett.
Jeremy is in Pennsylvania. Thinks I'm wrong about McCarthy. Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic.
Hey, I just have a really big problem. You're criticizing McCarthy here, who goes 12-5, but you guys are all over Mike Tomlin. He's never had a losing season. You know what? Mike Tomlin also hasn't had a playoff win in 7 years. if anybody should feel like they're having sand kicked in their faces, it should be Steeler fans.
Well,
Mike Tomlin's had,
Jeremy, I gotta tell you, I don't want to do a check the receipts thing, but I did say I thought the Steelers should fire Mike Tomlin about 48 hours ago. So I'm with you on that one.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Have yourself a wonderful day.
Wait, you would fire Mike Tomlin?
I did say I thought they should move on from him before we found out that they were bringing him back.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to have twin things happening here with Tomlin and with McCarthy. I think Tomlin ultimately is a better coach than McCarthy, but you have two guys who are ending the last year of their deal, unless they get extensions, who are going to be going into like this lame duck, sort of thing. Why I think Tomlin is a better coach than McCarthy, I think here's why. If they were both on the open market, who do you think's who do you think is the more sought after candidate?
Tomlin.
Without a doubt.
Yeah,
I think that's the league telling you what they think.
I think that's another dangerous proposition for Pittsburgh to fire Tomlin. Like, things can get worse.
Well, they're
fast.
not. He's staying.
Yeah, I'm a big Tomlin fan. Obviously, I think they're pretty close.
I
think their quarterback got old. That was what really happened in Pittsburgh.
Ben Roethlisberger. But you nailed it with Tomlin. When everyone was saying, coach of the year candidate, this and that, Perloff, you're the one who said he created the problems that he then had to solve. Like, it was a brilliant observation by you.
But I don't know what happened with Matt Canada. Tomlin's got a loyalty problem. Listen, all these guys are in the same boat. If you just bring great coordinators to help you, I think you could elevate these coaches. None of them are Bill Belichick in their prime. I understand, but everyone's like, fire this guy. The next guy is not any kind of guarantee. You're not getting Harbaugh. Most of these teams are not getting Harbaugh. And Vrabel might be good, but he might be just a 500 coach.
It's possible. Here's the thing about the coordinators, though, and this is, again, where I think fans have a right to be really upset this morning, which is you now have Mike McCarthy, who's going to enter next season on the hot seat in the last year of his deal.
Yeah.
What coordinator wants to jump on board with that? You're going to be looking for another job soon.
So are you saying that if the Cowboys lose a couple games early, that there's going to be a lot of noise in that building?
I don't think they're going to lose games early. I don't care if they lose games late.
I'm just saying because, and you said earlier, if McCarthy's in the last year of his contract and they start out 3-3 or something, Jerry's going to be head on fire. I think I agree with you completely. They could fire McCarthy mid-season if it doesn't go perfectly. So if you're a coordinator, you're right. Why do this?
I don't think they're going to fire him.
But they don't really need an offensive coordinator because McCarthy's a play caller. So the question is what happens to Dan Quinn, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, because, listen, if you want to go into the way back machine, I can take you to the first year of Mike McCarthy when he brought in Mike Nolan as the defensive coordinator and almost had a mutiny on his hands with the defensive players. They couldn't figure out the scheme. They didn't like it. They were terrible. And that's when Dan Quinn had to come and save the whole operation. Brandon is in Louisville. Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning, guys.
How you doing?
Not too bad. How about you?
Great. What's on your mind?
Well, the previous caller took the point that I was going to bring up, the same thing about McCarthy getting crucified and Tomlin getting anointed for not winning in the playoffs and only having regular season success. The problem in Pittsburgh, though, I don't know if it's the same in Dallas, is the coordinators. Tomlin doesn't want to bring in better coordinators because then he doesn't have someone to blame at the end of the season and keeps going on as this great coach. And it's a culture issue. Najee Harris come out and basically said it without saying it, that there's no discipline, the players aren't in full-time, they're not being held accountable. He comes from Alabama where they're bred to champions and they know how to win, they know what it takes to win. And then you had his name's escaping me at the moment, safety.
Minka Fitzpatrick?
Minka Fitzpatrick basically getting in a fight in the locker room with Deontay Johnson earlier in the season for the same thing. So Tomlin has created a culture issue in Pittsburgh, and the fans are sick of it.
Yeah. Brandon, fair criticism there about the locker room getting away, and Tomlin has to wear that. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger blamed it on the players are not handing down this tradition anymore because the young guys didn't want to hear it. I don't know.
Yeah, I love this. The fact that Mike McCarthy gets rehired and half our calls are fire Mike Tomlin.
I get it, though.
The logic makes perfect sense. I mean, those are two of the premier historical teams. There are very similar situations, too. If you have these coaches that are winning a lot of regular season games and can't get over the hump.
I think there's this year there's a little bit different expectation. I mean, the Steelers kind of backed into the playoffs 7 seed, went to Buffalo, lost. I mean, Dallas had a home game. They were the 2 seed versus the 7 seed.
100%.
Yeah.
And especially because the Steelers didn't have TJ Watt, and all the numbers say that's a disaster. But I think actually the Steelers are closer than the Cowboys. I'm high on the Steelers. Again, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl this year. Man, if they just get an offensive coordinator and a quarterback, those are easy to find, right, Maggie? Then Tomlin's back in the mix.
I'd rather have Dallas's problems than Pittsburgh's problems. I need to find a couple wide receivers and a running back. Give me 5 minutes.
But if you're the Steelers organization, are you? I know Tomlin said he wants to be back, but are you letting him coach on a lame duck year? I mean, you might want to address that contract.
Same thing with McCarthy.
Yeah.
You're basically asking it for every game to be, you're going to get questions about the contract. Keep the calls coming, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Andrew Bogusch is here. Is there anything else going on today?
A few things.
Okay.
Headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance. As of the moment, Nick Sirianni survived his year-end meeting with Eagle ownership and GM Howie Roseman yesterday. Sirianni and Roseman apparently canvassing the NFL for new coordinators. There was an in-season change on defense with Sean Desai losing play-calling duties in favor of Matt Patricia. And then the Birds went 1-4 with him in charge. Darius Slay, the cornerback, saying that change was like having 2 marriages. Raiders defensive end.
I don't know about that.
Max. At the same time, you meant, Pete, not as a lifetime thing. Raiders,
like 2 families, like one of those weird stories where a guy's got a family in Utah. Is
like
that what he's saying?
Family?
more like sister wives, I think, sister coordinators. You had 2 guys. Who do I? Maybe he meant also like divorced parents.
Yeah.
Who's my allegiance to? Do I like mom? Do I like dad? Whose house is cooler?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Raiders defensive end
That's healthy.
Max Crosby reportedly had knee surgery to clean up an issue that arose back in week 2. He played every game this season, making his 3rd Pro Bowl. He hasn't missed a game yet in his career. Victor Wembanyama scored 27 points in his Boston debut, but got a dose of reality from the league-leading Celtics. They won 117-98. They are perfect at home, 20-0. The Spurs now 7-33 overall.
It's going to take some time before we can be contenders, for the title. And I was ready for anything, and I'm still ready to do any sacrifice, and I'm patient.
Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown combining for 45 last night.
I got a slight Wembanyama problem.
Okay.
He is on fire right now. His stats every game now. He's getting realized.
Hey guys, you didn't remember with Wembanyama? The guy pretty good.
Well, but I felt
show.
really good on my bet. I have to drive to San Antonio if he wins Rookie of the Year, and I was great.
Yeah?
At the end of January, I was great. Chet Holmgren was a huge favorite, like minus 450. And now Wembanyama is getting triple doubles every night and scoring 25 points a game. This is bad.
You have another problem. You have another problem with Wembanyama, which is I think they want to give it to Wembanyama.
I agree with you.
So these types of performances are going to go a long way when Chet Holmgren gets screwed out of this award.
And I feel like at this point, even if somehow Wembanyama doesn't win and Chet wins, and maybe it'll be a lot of it because the Thunder are really good.
Right.
I feel like the spirit of Perloff's take, though, is still been shattered.
Right.
Like, Wembanyama is the real deal, obviously.
Yes, but are you so sure that he's going to be able to win a title, like be LeBron? I mean, I'll tell you one thing about it. I watch a lot of
second best player ever.
Is he Jordan?
Yeah, but I think that's the expectation. Honestly, I think that's the expectation of this guy. Like, he's got to win championships.
I mean, he's going to be an NBA superstar. That's obvious.
Definitely, but is he going to be a 4-time champion? That's where he's at.
So here, I think that he doesn't have the exact same expectation because aren't we also testing the limits of the human body with this guy?
Yeah, good point.
I just want to see if it works
That's
out.
true.
I don't know if he needs like a title, like a certain number of rings.
He tends to float around on the perimeter. It is definitely something interesting about him. Like, you're 7'5", but you want to play like Porzingis does the same thing. You're taking your strength away. I don't know. I mean, if they won a game, how bad are they? Every time Bogusch talks about them, they lost.
Yeah, no, they lose a lot. He also seems to have like a 3-inch vertical. Now, he doesn't need to jump that high, but his feet almost never clear the court. Obviously playing above the rim, but if he learns to jump,
better
he'll
for
be
the
that
knees.
much better.
Better for the knees that he doesn't.
Dude also takes a ton of threes, and he cannot shoot the three.
Yeah.
So Spurs are coming to New York soon. You
they
guys
did already.
realize this
Mm.
for the Nets.
Oh, that's what I think of the Nets.
Well, that's probably going to be an expensive ticket.
I mean,
are we going?
Should we go?
I think we should go.
Are you allowed in that gym?
We should go.
Is the arena
That one I'm
Maggie
allowed
can
in.
get into, yes.
Meanwhile,
think
you
we
saw
should
our
go.
pal,
Yeah.
Guitar Jimmy.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Judge me by my enemies. Back to Bogusch.
Anthony Davis, LeBron James had 53 in the Lakers 127-110 home win over the Mavs. Anthony Simon scored with 0.2 of a second left to get the Blazers past those Nets 105-103. And the Raptors apparently will be just fine without Pascal Siakam, building a 37-point lead on the Heat before winning last night 121-97, hours after dealing Siakam to the Pacers. Here's our new best friend, Toronto head coach Darko Rajakovic.
Very complicated day. As I said before the game, I thought that guys in the film session, in the walkthrough, they were really logged in. And in the first half, we followed the game plan to the point.
Siakam went to Indy for 3 first-round picks, Bruce Brown and Jordan Nwora. This following sending OG Anunoby to the Knicks. They got RJ Barrett in that swap, and he scored 26 in this Heat game last night.
Ooh.
He's played really well there.
This is the time to buy the Raptors stock. This is right when
yeah,
they're
it's a
selling
value.
everybody off. But Scotty Barnes is amazing. What I didn't love about this is the coverage of it. Is everyone dunking on the Pacers? Like, oh, but they're still not as good as the Bucks and the Celtics. Like, give them 5 minutes. I mean, I don't think anyone in the Pacers, they're ahead of schedule and now they're doing something about it. I don't think that anyone ever thought, oh, the Indiana Pacers are going to find a finishing move at the trade deadline or anything. Like,
This is a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. Like, baby
look
steps.
how fun it is to watch them now.
Yeah, no, they're a really good team.
Yeah,
Is that a
IST
loser?
runner-ups.
I know.
And now Siakam.
Yeah, but I feel
They got
like
the All-Star game
Maybe
this
they'll
year?
win an actual playoff
There
game.
is something-
Airport
Easy,
basketball
buddy.
court. I mean, everything's going right in Indianapolis.
people are talking about them like they are a competitor. Like they're getting a lot. The love they get in their actual record, to me, every time I hear about them, I'm like, oh man, Halliburton's the best, the Pacers. And then I look at the record, they're just barely above 500. Where the Thunder are winning every game.
Halliburton has been hurt recently, so he did miss a strained game. So
But even when he was out there, they were still basically a 500 team.
Half the teams in the NBA make the playoffs. Like, no one's expecting them to be a top seed, but maybe their play-in tournament game,
There's a lot of talk about them. There is
fun.
something.
They score 100 million points a game.
But I do think there is a truth to what you said, though. They're not as good as I think. I think they're a little ahead of their skis.
Right, but now with Siakam, though, that's not the question. Is how far are they now closer to those teams?
But I understand. I'm with the many people that you mentioned. Like Siakam, Siakam, does he terrify you?
He's an NBA champion.
He is. I thought that it was fair to criticize the Knicks when they dealt for OG Anunoby because I'm like, you're still not as good as Boston. You're still not as good.
Which is ridiculous, by the way.
No, but your team was like a 4 or 5 seed, whatever they were last year. You're trying to make those kind of moves to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. The Indiana Pacers are you 3 years ago. You know, it's a different expectation. I'm sorry,
No, I
Bogusch, back to
think
you.
the national expectation is raised a lot on the Pacers. Okay. But anyway, maybe not fair. By the way, LeBron and Bronny on at the same time on TV last night. Anyone dip into that?
Was that at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, 10 o'clock at USC, Arizona. It was the LeBron show last night. LeBron, whew.
You know that ESPN is like taking investors into the network, like the NFL and stuff, to like give them a cash flow. They should just ask LeBron for money.
Yeah.
Like LeBron buys into the network.
Well, it was LeBron on ABC and Bronny on ESPN. It was a Disney dream. And LeBron looks amazing. Sorry. I keep watching LeBron. When's that going to fall off?
Never.
Kevin Durant was at that game last night because it was in Arizona.
Yeah.
So Durant was there. I think Bijan Robinson was there.
Yeah.
Like Arizona legends came back to watch
Benedict
Bronny.
Mathurin was there too. And I think he got honored. I was like,
The whole thing
it
felt like a thing last night. It felt like the LeBron taking over the world thing. Anyway.
Bronny had 11 points, 5 boards, 6 assists in that game. USC losing at number 12, Arizona, 82-67. UConn won its first game as number 1 in 15 years, 62-48. Over number 18, Creighton. The Nick Saban retirement fallout continuing in Alabama. Stud freshman safety Caleb Downs and starting left tackle Caden Proctor in the transfer portal. A little far away from all of that, longtime Harvard head coach Tim Murphy announced his retirement yesterday after 30 seasons. His 200 wins are the most in school and Ivy League history. Murphy's teams won 10 Ivy titles, and the Detroit Red Wings a 3-2 OT win in Florida. Those Panthers have now dropped a season-high 3 in a row. Guys, back to you.
Andrew Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, more of your phone calls on the Dallas Cowboys' stunning decision to retain Mike McCarthy as head coach. Are they making a grave mistake? We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Big day for Cowboys fans. You are staring down the barrel of what the future looks like, and it's the same old thing. Winning in the regular season, falling short in the postseason. Mike McCarthy will be back next year. Let's go to Rich in Chicago. Wants to talk about Jerry Jones, his impact on this decision. Obviously, he made the decision. Hey, Rich, how are you?
Hey, Maggie. And Perloff, I wanted to give Maggie some credit. I couldn't agree more about McCarthy, but I want to separate McCarthy from Jerry Jones because when you look at Jones's history, he loves hiring guys that will be his lapdogs. I mean, his last mistake was 10 years with Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
So he was in no hurry to run him off. Excuse me, and that it was pretty much his decision for Garrett, who is a lapdog, and he strung that out for 10 years. He's got the same situation with McCarthy, but I think what needs to be considered is part of the reason I think there wasn't a move is when you take a look at the uncertainty in the league with coaches moving, et cetera, think about this. Who wants that job that's really, really good? Anybody who's good, Parcells and Jimmy Johnson, aren't lapdogs. They took off. They're gone.
Right.
Jerry Jones is the problem, and he's the problem for two reasons. One, he loves to tell or presume he's the richest owner out there. I looked this up. He's the fifth richest owner in net worth. But what makes him dangerous is he's the only owner that can allege that he has previous playing experience.
Oh.
Why do you think he's on the sidelines?
Well, the other part, too, is he might not be the richest owner in terms of, like, his actual bank account, but his franchise is worth the most. Like, he knows that he's the most, and I think that gives him a lot of power.
Well, yeah, but he's never going to sell it, so what difference does that make?
Well, I mean.
He won't.
It doesn't.
And you know what?
I think it matters,
Tepper.
yes.
Look at Tepper at Carolina. He's a narcissist, too. Anybody that wants to meddle in somebody else's business versus, a CEO of a team or an owner, and I worked in big corporate America my entire life, their job is to delegate to people like me to execute their specialty. The really smart guys.
Yeah, don't get involved.
Let the OC be the OC.
Yeah.
The DC be the DC.
Rich, that's Jerry with his weekly radio hits, and thank you so much for the phone call, Rich. Good to hear from you. And in the locker room after every win and loss,
the structure in Jerry is the bigger problem. So yes, this seems like a mistake to keep Mike McCarthy, but the difference, what difference does it make? If Jerry Jones is your owner, you're still going to have this problem. Even with Belichick there, Jerry would still meddle.
Rich, another Rich is in California. Good morning, Rich.
Yeah, the problem is that Jerry Jones didn't learn what Jeb York needed to learn. And that is the owner's job is to be quiet, hire good football people, cut checks, and if you're really, really lucky, you get to get a trophy.
Yes, mouth shut, wallet open. That's how you want owners. Yeah. Yes.
Well, this is why he will never get Harbaugh, he will never get Belichick, and he will never get anybody else. Because Harbaugh's been there, done that, and has a T-shirt to prove it.
Rich, I love it. Came, saw, got the T-shirt. He's right. And I think every fan knows this, too. It's like you put up with Jerry. Like, if Jerry Jones retreated to private life, we'd be probably, us as media, let's take that at a different, but as fans, you'd be like, great. I don't need this. I don't need this much,
Oh, absolutely. I think it's underrated the fact that the owner is the GM and has been for a long time. That never happened. It's so blatant in Dallas that the owner is meddling. It's not even meddling. He's running the show.
You can't even say it's meddling.
Meddling is when, you kind of poke in there. He is everything.
Another team, by the way, making the same mistakes that the Cowboys are now making. We got that. We've got more reaction to the big news. Mike McCarthy sticking around for at least another year.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
can run the 40 faster than Tom Brady. He got a perfect score on the Wonderlic. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Just despair, disappointment, disenfranchisement, all of the words that are going through the head of a Dallas Cowboy fan this morning. Good morning, by the way. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff here on CBS Sports Radio. Despair. I'd be despondent if I was a Dallas Cowboy.
Is this worse than actually losing the game to have Mike McCarthy come back as your head coach?
It adds to it. I mean, as if it wasn't bad enough for Cowboy fans that you're trying to get past what was a gut punch of a loss, an inexplicable, inexcusable loss to the Packers in the wildcard round. Now you realize this is your fate. Like, now you're resigned to it. Because if the Dallas Cowboys, if you haven't heard, are going to retain Mike McCarthy for at least next year, we're not sure after that. Next year will be the final year of his contract. You know what you're getting. Yep. It's not Super Bowl. And I hate the fact for the Cowboy fan that they're being told now 12 games in the regular season is good enough. When that's good, don't get me wrong, it gets you the 2 seed. And what's that supposed to get you? A nice path at least to the NFC Championship game. And instead it got you a first-round boot exit, 1, 2, 3 Cancun. I mean,
not ideal.
No, so what good is it winning 12 games if you're going to flame out in the postseason this spectacularly?
Yeah, okay. My official stance is they should have made a move here because there's a great opportunity here. Everybody, he could have.
Your official stance.
My official stance is, but.
What's your unofficial stance?
I understand what Jerry Jones is doing here because there's no guarantee you're going to go 12-5 again if you bring in a new coach. You could easily back. McCarthy fixed that offense this year. I mean, they were good.
Kellen Moore, they were good under Kellen Moore.
No, but they controlled
different.
Games so much better this year.
It was disjointed a little bit under Kellen Moore. The criticism of him was that it was like he was playing a video game. Like it was like him playing Madden. It wasn't as connected with the defense, and it wasn't a holistic.
Exactly.
But it was still a good offense that put up a lot of points.
I think also McCarthy fixed Prescott this year to a large extent. Now, I understand that backslid in the playoffs, but he was awesome this year. He deserves all those MVP votes that he's going to get. He played, if you just looked at the regular season, you say, oh, that's a great quarterback. Listen, so that's something. That's not totally nothing. Everyone's acting like they were 3-14.
Okay, but here's the thing. Fixing Dak Prescott, I get it. The interceptions got out of control at the end of last year, and that needed to change. But fixing Dak Prescott is like a Hollywood movie when they need to give a makeover to the quote-unquote ugly girl and then make her beautiful. She's already pretty. Like, Dak didn't need this full makeover. They took her hair out of a bun and took her glasses off, and now all of a sudden she's a 10.
You mean like she's wearing overalls with paint splattered on it? Like, exactly. Oh my gosh, she's into painting. She must be ugly.
Yeah, take her glasses off and take her hair out of a ponytail, and all of a sudden she looks like Miss America.
That was the 90s, Maggie. That's how we viewed the world back then.
Dak Prescott already was a good quarterback. This fixing Dak Prescott, like he had all these problems. He was making $45 million a year. Like, okay, he cut down on the interceptions. Fantastic. That had not historically been a Dak Prescott problem.
I know.
It was like a one-off. So I can't give Mike McCarthy all this credit because, oh my gosh, he came in and boy, did he, down to the studs, really rip this thing apart and rebuild it. Give me a break. This is a Super Bowl ready roster that he was supposed to get to where they should be and underachieve.
Okay, it's Super Bowl ready roster. Let's say they hire Mike Vrabel this offseason. Are you picking the Dallas Cowboys with that team and that roster and Mike Vrabel to go to the Super Bowl? I am not, because I think the offense would go backwards with Mike Vrabel and Arthur Smith. And I don't think they're as dangerous. I don't think they're super dangerous with Mike McCarthy. But I don't think Mike Vrabel's coming in there with that roster and winning a Super Bowl either.
At least I'm not 100% sure. I know that Mike Vrabel is a better big game coach, even in the, I know they lost as the 1 seed.
They lost to the Bengals.
I get it. They lost but I think in some ways we didn't understand what was going on with the Bengals at that point. Like they were not... They didn't have the same perception. Like that run changed everything about Joe Burrow, about the Bengals. Like this could be happening maybe with CJ Stroud or Jordan Love, but I don't think to this extent. Like I don't think we're going to look back and say, man, the Cowboys had no shot against, Jordan Love. He might be good next year, but that's still an inexcusable loss for where he is at this point of his career.
Let's look at the different strengths of the Cowboys. Obviously on defense, Micah Parsons is unbelievable rushing the passer.
Sure.
But the guy is tiny, and he's lining up on your defensive line. I'm not an offensive coordinator, but I could have figured out, I'm going to run at that team all the time. Yeah. And that is a problem.
Aaron Jones did.
So exactly. You actually nailed it. That was the Aaron Jones game. I think that they have a problem stopping the run. So they tried to draft this big kid, Mozzie Smith, out of Michigan. It didn't exactly work out. They need to fix their run defense. They're just not quite as good as we think. And they lost their number one cornerback, Trayvon Diggs. Everyone got excited about Deron Bland because they'd be up 40-8 on the Commanders and he'd get a pick 6 off of Sam Howell. Honestly, they're not nearly as good as everyone thinks they are. I look at their roster every year and say, it's the stars on the helmet. We think they're all superstars. They're just not, Maggie.
No, you can't give me they lost Trayvon Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs is a great player.
Perloff, they lost him in the preseason. You've got to be able to adjust. That's on coaching.
They did adjust to some extent, but at the end, I think that Gilmore-Bland duo was kind of not good.
Not what we were saying after Seattle. Not what we were saying after Seattle when they had to move Stephon Gilmore onto DK Metcalf.
I know. We were wrong.
This is a regular season team, and we knew that.
Gilmore got so slow by the end. You could see it at the Green Bay game.
Listen, everybody looked bad in the Green Bay game, and starting with number 1, Mike McCarthy. And the fact that he gets to stay is just devastating. It is devastating for Cowboy fans because you know that also people who were like me who criticized Jerry Jones saying that he doesn't actually want to win a Super Bowl. He just wants to string you along. And I was told, no, Maggie, he cares more than anybody.
He does.
He does not. And he just showed it to you.
That giant ego, he desperately wants to win. No. He wants to win. He wants to be the one who did it.
Yeah, but his way isn't
He's
working.
He thinks he invented the NFL. He thinks he invented football. He thinks that he's going to do it. And I understand your logic, but I think you misunderstand this man. I think he thinks he's the smartest guy in the entire league, and he could win on his own.
855-212-4CBS. Okay, this I'm interested in. Clint is calling from Texas who says he's a lifelong Cowboy fan who knows what's wrong with Jerry. Clint, what's wrong with Jerry?
Good morning, guys. Love your show. Absolutely love it. So I've worked for Jerry Jones. I've not personally, but I've worked for a guy who was just like Jerry.
Got it.
And here was the problem. And I've been a Cowboys fan my whole life. I've really followed the team. This guy wanted to fix everything, but didn't want anybody's help. And he once looked me in the face and said, I know what the problem, I don't know anything about this problem, but here's what we're going to do to fix it.
And let me guess, you don't still work for this person, do you?
I do not. But it created a horrible environment of behind his back, nobody respected him. The people who weren't self-motivated had quit.
Yep.
And, really, they wanted to follow his leadership, but he didn't give them any respect and didn't want to listen to what their solutions were. And so the environment was just toxic and the struggles that ensued because of that. And I see the same thing with the Cowboys. It's just never going to be any different.
Clint, and I think it's a good observation, and I think there's a 1-2 punch here of why this specific pairing is not going to be good between Jerry and Mike McCarthy. Not that it's not going to be good, it's never going to win you a Super Bowl. It's because if you have all those qualities about Jerry, he wants to fix everything, he wants to be, the cause of and the reason for all the solutions and everything and all the credit. And then you have Mike McCarthy, who I don't think a team goes into a game and says, we have the better coach on the sideline, because Mike McCarthy has made high-profile mistakes game managing. He does not have the reputation of a big game coach. It goes back to Green Bay when he had Aaron Rodgers. And I think the players know, hey, we're now we're going to the game with one hand tied behind our back, but we are not, the advantage going into this game is not a head coach.
Yeah, but who are the good game managers? Because all the great coaches are terrible at game managing, ironically. Andy Reid's the worst game manager in the NFL.
No, I get it.
I don't think it's the game management stuff and the X's and O's. I think it was the motivation, the getting fired up, being loose, being ready, thinking you can beat anybody. Actually, I guess in a sense I am agreeing. I don't think the confidence was there against the Packers, and that's what I would kill McCarthy for. He did not have that team believing they could win.
You can't let the Packers get the ball first.
Yeah.
Surprise everybody, I guess, by not deferring like you've never encountered this before in your life. Go down and score a touchdown, and basically it was 5 seconds away from being game over.
The Packers immediately took advantage of the Cowboys' two biggest weaknesses, that you can run on them, and that if you stop CeeDee Lamb, then the offense is not good. And they did it.
There was 50 more minutes of football. That can't be the story of your season.
It was. Unfortunately, that was the story. That was the knock on them. They were your Super Bowl pick, but did you get nervous that the only person they could throw to was CeeDee Lamb at a certain point? And Jake Ferguson was good too, but they definitely were a little flawed even before this.
Yeah, we always said they were a receiver short.
Yeah, or something about CeeDee Lamb was so great this year, and then when he didn't show up and he was dropping passes, that got bad fast.
And Dak was telegraphing everything right to him, staring him down.
One thing about McCarthy, I do think the players like him, that's not a reason to keep him around. I think he's very popular in that locker room. It seems like everybody kind of likes him. I've never heard people say, God, I hate Mike McCarthy. Like, people hate Belichick. People hate Harbaugh.
Right.
McCarthy's a nice guy. I think that might be a bad thing in a sense.
Well, maybe guys like him because, you're going 12-5. You're probably hitting some bonuses with, contract incentives. Like, there's a lot of reasons why a guy likes him.
I think he's a player relationship person too, generally. I know Rodgers tired on him, but Rodgers has his own stuff going on.
Yeah, Rodgers not the most reliable narrator when it comes to that stuff. Harrison is in Iowa. Good morning, Harrison.
Hi, you guys. First time, long time. Perloff, I remember you back on your old show.
Iowa's our home base for the Dan Patrick Show. We love Iowa.
Oh, well, thank you, guys. Listen, now this is what's going on. These guys are, like you said about actors and, polishing up a pig and stuff like that. That whole team is full of stunt doubles. There's nobody on that team that has the heart like Jerry does, but he doesn't have the cojones to get rid of people. McCarthy, please, give me a break. Perloff, I think you could go out there and do a better. Maggie, I know you could do a better job at it. But it's just ridiculous. They remind me of middle of the road or upper tier WWE superstars who don't need a belt to succeed. They got their merch. The guy sells out concerts there, this, that. How much more money does the guy need? He just needs it for his big old head.
Yeah.
I'm out. Thank you, guys.
Harrison, thank you so much. Stunt doubles is funny because we will have
cosplaying superstars.
Cosplaying a Super Bowl contender. You might be right on that. It's funny because we do have this constant conversation about whether Dak Prescott is like an elite quarterback. He gets paid like one. He'll put up the numbers like one, but he's lacking in the postseason.
Yeah.
It's the same conversation we had with Tony Romo all those years. They just never have a slam dunk guy like when you know it, you know it.
But he puts up the numbers because he's good. It's not like the numbers are accidentally like, oh, he stinks, but he's thrown 4 touchdowns and no picks in this game. Like last year in the playoffs, he steamrolled the Bucs and looked amazing, and then he fell apart against that great Niners defense. So he's confusing. It's not just that he's putting up empty numbers. He's a good quarterback.
No,
he throws a good ball. He's tough. He wants to win. He just, I don't know.
It's just not when you get to the postseason. No, he still wants to win. It's not that he's bad. It's just you can't ever go into a game and think, boy, do we have the advantage at quarterback today.
Yeah.
That's never something you would say about Dak Prescott in a postseason game. And
I think it's the team too, though.
Okay, it could be a lot of things, but we talk about the quarterback a lot because he's about to make like $55 million or something.
Look at both interceptions on Sunday. One, Brandon Cooks got just shoved to the side by Jair Alexander, physically outmanned. That to me was partly on the receiver. Then they were in this situation; they forced it to CeeDee Lamb. The coach Mike McCarthy, who I'm defending today, ironically, said you got to get it to CeeDee. Everyone's like, you got to feed CeeDee Lamb. So Dak's like, all right, I'll feed CeeDee Lamb. And the Packers were aware that was going to happen, and we're standing right there for the pick six.
He was staring down CeeDee Lamb like they were having one of those staring contests, like who's going to blink first. I'm not looking anywhere else but right in your eyes.
I was yelling at the TV, throw it at CeeDee Lamb. You got to throw it at CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is your star. So it was a weird situation. I can make an excuse for any Dak interception.
Yeah, and you do.
Most of the time it is.
No.
Yeah, most of the time. Well, last year he was throwing all these interceptions and we're hitting guys right in the chest and bouncing up and going to the cornerbacks. I'm like, why is that on Dak? All interceptions are not the same.
Sean is in Rochester. Lovely this time of year. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Oh, yeah. 8 degrees is beautiful up here, boy.
Haven't seen the sun in a couple weeks, I imagine. I know it well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as a lifelong Cowboy fan, I could accept the Mike McCarthy staying if he had beat Green Bay Packers.
Right.
And my whole thing is, if not now, when? And what next year when his contract is up and we get bumped in the first round of the playoffs again as a wild card, what head coaches are going to be better than a Bill Belichick or a Harbaugh next year that are going to be out there? I mean,
well, let me ask you this,
Yeah.
Sean. What what if you found the next Bill Belichick, a young coordinator? Why is no one talking about that? Maybe the Cowboys should start over and actually rebuild this team instead of find a guy who can come in immediately win. Maybe they should be like the Patriots hired Belichick, get a young coordinator and really like start from the base, not start and bring in a guy who will win immediately.
Yeah, but I don't think Jerry Jones is that type of guy where he's going to get some young, open-minded guy. I can see him getting a Bill Belichick. And I got this to say about Bill Belichick and Mike McCarthy. That's Perloff. Do you not think if the New England Patriots were coming in, I know we're in different divisions, but if they were coming into our house and it's a game that you have to win, you don't think that Belichick would have put a better game plan together, a better performance against Robert Kraft and your arch enemy who fired you and showed up? Instead of that was pathetic what McCarthy did. That was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know. Belichick just lost to the Jets,
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, he had beaten them 16 times in a row.
I know.
Come on. We can't just talk about that one loss and be like, haha, the Jets got the better of them. He beat them for like 5 to 7 straight years.
Belichick's not exactly on a high right now. I'm not sure that.
I get it, but to Sean's point, like McCarthy tried to downplay the Packers connection. Maybe did it to a fault. I don't know. They couldn't. Nothing was right here. Like nothing was right. But that's a good point. Like water gun to your midsection. If you had to pick one coach in a big game, Belichick or McCarthy, and I won't even tell you who the roster is. Like you'd pick Belichick in a heartbeat.
I know, and of course. But that being said, I don't know if I'd pick Belichick now. I actually wouldn't pick McCarthy. I wouldn't want either of them. How come nobody's talking about why don't they hire Ben Johnson or a Bobby Slowick? Why is they're a different team that they basically have to win a Super Bowl because Jerry's old?
You want to know what's funny about that? Because if you go back to the Cowboys since Jerry Jones has owned the team, so Jimmy Johnson gives way to Barry Switzer, right? An established college coach to try to basically do the same thing you did with Jimmy and replicate that. And they did win a Super Bowl. Then you went to Chan Gailey.
Yeah, an NFL veteran.
Then you went to Dave Campo.
A big-time NFL veteran.
Then you went to Parcells, the ultimate established guy. Then you went to Wade Phillips, another lifelong lifer. Wade Phillips was not young when he took that job in 2007. And then you gave way to Jason Garrett.
Garrett might have fit that
the
mold.
Young up-and-coming. But look at the trend of Jerry's hires.
There was a time when Garrett was the guy too. Remember when Romo was good and Dak came out of nowhere and was good as a 4th-round pick? Yeah,
that was also a Jerry Jones who was willing to take a few more risks. Like the Jerry Jones now would not bring in Terrell Owens.
Well, the truth is, to win a Super Bowl, you might have to let that Dak Prescott contract run out and start over a quarterback.
Oh, so here's what I have something to say about that, actually, about why the Dallas Cowboys actually can't go that route. I'll do that next. 855-212-4CBS. We have a lot more to get to today. There was a new coach introduced in New England yesterday. I'll tell you why that is trending in the wrong direction. All of that, so much more. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is sponsored by the new Hyundai Tucson, available with complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Now it's easy to use your phone to control your Tucson. My in-laws have a Hyundai. It's awesome. I totally want it. Anyway, we have something very exciting. Is this going to happen now, Maggie?
I think we should do it now. We've been talking a lot about Mike McCarthy, and he's going to be back with the Dallas Cowboys. We've got Gerard Mayo sound for you. We've got updates on Harbaugh and Belichick and all of that stuff, but all of it pauses in this moment. Because
Wait, it was supposed to pause at this moment. We lost a producer.
Well, okay. We're going to get to something fun in just a moment. But Andrew Bogusch, why don't you hit us off with some headlines first, and we'll get to our little game here.
All right, guys. Mike McCarthy is staying put in Dallas, but is Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, interviewed for the Panthers and Titans head coaching gigs yesterday? Today, it's the Commanders and the Seahawks. Tomorrow, it's the Chargers. This seems a
Wow.
little,
That's a robust schedule.
all on Zoom. They're going to Dan Quinn. He's not traveling. He's sitting in a room, plugging in, making his pitch to be one of those 5 head coaches.
I'll make a bet that he doesn't get any of them.
I kind of feel that a little too.
But and I think he just got killed by the Packers. That's really where I'm coming from.
Yeah, kind of in the moment.
I think he gets one.
Maybe Seattle.
I mean, it sounds like people inside think that
He's
some
gonna
reason this is his best chance, which is weird.
Yeah, I mean, if the Chargers don't get Jim Harbaugh, maybe that is a great fit.
Going to do another defensive coach when you got Justin Herbert there? That doesn't sound right to me. Anyway.
There's no head coaching change in New Orleans. Saints GM Mickey Loomis defending Dennis Allen's 16 and 18 start as head coach by pointing out that Bill Belichick, Tom Landry, and Bill Walsh all struggled in their first few seasons in charge. Even Dennis Allen might agree that Dennis Allen is not Belichick or Landry or
also,
Walsh.
This is not Dennis Allen's first head coaching gig.
There's also that. And then we get to Philly. We were told Tuesday morning that Jason Kelce was retiring, telling his teammates as much in the locker room after losing in Tampa Bay. Kelce saying on the new episode of his and Travis's podcast, that's not exactly what happened Monday night.
I didn't announce what I was doing on purpose, despite, I guess, what's been leaked to the media. I just don't think you're in a position after a game like that to really make that decision. I just don't. There's too much emotion in the moment to really fully grasp that decision. I'm not trying to be dramatic and continue to draw this thing out. I'm really not.
If you listen to the extended clip, he's done.
A lot of guys like, if that is your last game, I feel sorry for you. And I'm like, don't feel sorry for me, motherfucker. I had a
But
okay.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Wait, you guys are you're
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, man.
What you
crying.
Was Pete was talking over was him unable to speak because he was so emotional because he's retiring. He just is not ready to say it out loud yet.
Oh, that was my question. Okay, does it look like he's going to retire? But sometimes guys right after the season want to retire, then 4 weeks later
they'll change their mind.
feel a little rejuvenated. Is there any chance that's going to happen?
They
I'm
pull
kind
some
of
Tom Brady?
Yeah, I was thinking of Tom Brady. Tom Brady always retired right after the season.
I don't think so. I've never been more jealous, though, of an NFL player than I was of Kelce. Did you see when he stopped by the Mickey D's to give a jersey to his favorite
Yeah, I did see that.
Mickey D's
And
employee?
you see the order.
The order.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine just like, let's all live our lives starting the day with 2 sausage, egg, and cheeses and be considered in peak condition.
Yeah,
Sexiest man alive?
Being athletic.
Yeah. Athletic, sexiest man alive. I mean, I know he's burning a lot of those calories, but like,
Well, I worry now if he does retire and he's got to fit into a tux for the Travis Taylor wedding. They're not going to be McDonald's. Like he's going to have to. Trust me, there's a big event coming within a year here for him.
yeah.
And of course, an offensive lineman, regardless of order, has a favorite McDonald's employee.
Yeah.
That deserves a signed jersey.
A little too on the nose? Is that what I'm sensing from you?
Yeah, I mean, it's right out of central casting. Of course, he's got a favorite fast food person.
I'd probably be upset if I'm the other fast food people that he's most likely hitting on the way home. Like, where's my jersey for your afternoon quarter pounder with cheese?
Is he get an immediate broadcasting job? He's so popular right now. The fact that we're talking about a retired center, I mean, I can't even name that many centers.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was thinking, and I don't want to wish this on him because it's not a great life, but he could probably get into politics. He could probably.
Oh.
He's very likable. He's very folksy.
Yeah.
He's very.
What political party is he a part of?
I'm not going there.
Oh, okay.
I don't
didn't know he had an
I have
affiliation.
no idea what his affiliations are.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's why I'm like. I'm
You're
just
not going
saying.
there.
Either party, I think he would be someone that I could see.
Which former John Runyon is he?
Runyon.
Yeah. But no, Runyon wasn't popular like Kelce is.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I think Kelsey's way more popular than Runyon. and way more, I think, better talker.
I don't think Jason wants to do that because if you get into politics, 50% of the people are going to turn off you.
true.
Right now, he's got 100%. He goes down the Jersey Shore in the summer and bartends, and he's just beloved. I don't think he wants to give that up
Guys,
for politics.
Think of what centers are doing these days. You got to get a media job, and then midway through the season, when the Eagles inevitably fire whatever head coach they're down to now, you're going to come back and coach the team. This is the Jeff Saturday playbook.
Oh, that playbook. It's happened once. Is it? You say all centers.
Yeah.
What's another center who's done that?
Oh, then they're running it well.
I can't. All right, who are the good centers? There's like 5. I'm looking at the best centers: Creed Humphrey, Jason Kelsey, and Corey Lindsley. Which one? It's not a natural transition to go from center into the media. Now,
Well, Sean O'Hara did it, doesn't he, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the bigger thing is your question, like, is he one of these guys that gets oddly thin quickly, or is he one of the guys that struggles with not playing anymore and he gets unhealthy? I also want to know if he stays in Philadelphia, or does he pack up and leave that area? Is he a Philly guy forever?
He's a Philly guy now.
Yeah.
Why would you leave Philly? You're never going to
It's
pay for
Philly.
a drink or McDonald's. I mean, he's from Cleveland. It's
Not a drink or McFlurry.
Yeah. I mean,
McFlurry.
he's got to get back to Cleveland. I'm nothing against Cleveland.
I just feel like you need to be in warm weather. Once you're done, you got to go somewhere where it's not winter anymore. That'd be my first play. Philadelphia
Being rich
guy
and
or
being
not.
warm is probably, I think that's my
height.
heaven.
Yeah. You're asking a bunch of people who are sitting here. It's 14 degrees outside.
Is it that warm?
Yeah. And also, spoiler alert, none of us are rich.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Jason Kelsey walks around the streets of Philadelphia. He's a god. He walks around the streets of L.A. He's a nobody. Doesn't that play into it?
I think that's what he would like.
To be a god.
No,
To
I
be a
think
nobody?
he'd like to just be fun and hang out
Yeah,
and not be bothered.
if
too
the
much.
Simply don't get a lot of
The
credit.
Kelseys, speaking to any microphone, they go to an opening of an envelope right now. I mean, they love being famous.
Yeah, like Jim Kelly's still. Is he in Buffalo?
Hell yeah, he is.
Yeah, like Ron Jaworski's in Philadelphia. You don't leave your home base. I think if you're a former player, you want to stay in your town.
Giannis was out with a bruised right shoulder last night. Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton were out there, but the Bucks never had a chance, taking a 135-95 beating in Cleveland, 31 points for Donovan Mitchell. The Lakers down the Mavs, 127-110, despite Luka posting 33 points, 13 boards, 10 assists. The T-Wolves, 124-117 winners in Detroit. Anthony Edwards had 27 and 8 helpers. Men's top 25 action, 4th-ranked North Carolina extending into win streak to 7, 86-70 over Louisville. Thankfully, 5th-ranked Houston's back on track, snapping a 2-game slump with a 77-54 rout of number 25 Texas Tech. And UCF got a 77-71 win at Texas. And then some players did horns down as they lined up for handshakes. So Texas head coach Rodney Terry yelled at them on the court and continued complaining in his press conference.
Whether you win or lose, you win the right way. You lose the right way. You carry yourself the right way. You don't go through the handshake line or prior to getting to the handshake line and have about 6 or 7 guys putting the horns down. We don't do that, because when you do those kind of things, it looks very classless. And it also looks like you were just hoping to win.
So I woke up to a Barstool tweet about this, and it said 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and Texas overreacting to horns down. Why do they get so upset by people doing this?
It always feels from the outside like a massive overreaction.
Always.
Like there are things that, listen, Perloff's from Philadelphia. Like they'll really get after you. Like they'll physically harm you.
They'll kill a bull.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean,
about the bull killing thing?
No, it's an overreaction. I mean, there's just always this weird, the Texas is back thing too. And listen, I always think about football. I don't know. You even bother doing horns down against Texas basketball? I know
If
they're
you're UCF,
good.
you do.
Well, I just think if you do something like
Clearly,
that,
hit him
and
below the belt.
Yeah, if you do something like that and then you lose, the other guy's allowed to do it back in your
Honestly,
face
though,
like that.
Can we abolish the handshake line? It is the
That too.
stupidest thing we have, maybe in sports.
Sportsmanship, EJ.
Oh, give me a break, sportsmanship. How about you give these kids some money, right, for all these hard work and all the kids they're doing? Why are we keeping this
Can't you have both?
charade that it's this amateur, we got to be sportsmen? Like, this is basically professional sports.
Okay, but this is what separates us from the animals. The other thing, too, is sportsmanship. The other thing, too, is like professional athletes who do get paid do shake each other's hands out.
But there's not a handshake line, and
For
you don't
hockey
have to.
players, there is at the end of a series.
Yeah, in the
but that's-
playoffs,
people
not on
love
a
it.
Tuesday night in January.
Exactly.
All right, but, I mean, I think basketball players at the end of a series.
Baseball, they never do it.
No, because baseball has a very strict sort of unwritten rule that if you win, you get to be on the field.
Yeah.
And if you don't get to be out there. Football doesn't really have that.
Also, NBA, why not shake hands? There's zero animosity between any players. They all love each other.
Yeah, but the NBA now, your players can be allowed to say goodbye on the field of the court like they do, but you don't. I'm with EJ. We don't need to line these kids up. The game just ended. Sometimes they're angry at each other. You're asking for trouble, and it proves nothing. It accomplishes nothing. If they want to see their buddy, they want to point like the NBA guys do as they're walking off. That's fine. But the only thing this does is set up for stupidity like this. Handshake line.
But what are you talking about, Bogusch? You need the content. You need Juwan Howard getting a fight. And also, my favorite thing. One thing I watch I love the 60 minutes of football, but the coach handshake afterwards, I'm always eyeing that. I'm like, ooh, are they going to go after each other? Don't you guys like to see the tension of this?
But
they're adults.
Line.
Right, and exactly.
Wait,
You're putting kids into the situation who are not mature.
Can we bring it back to the horns down just for 1 second? Is there anything else in sports where a fan base, there is such a no-go, it's just this line of demarcation that no fan base would be considered super classless?
It's also a penalty, right? Didn't the Big 12 say if you do that, it's a penalty? Like in a football game.
ACC needs to do that because people like doing the you down thing for the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, but
that's getting annoying.
Do you get actually offended by that?
It's annoying.
Are you offended?
No, not offended, but it's really.
Do you consider it classless? It's not.
I wouldn't say, I don't know about classes, but it feels cheap. It feels like really? That's where you're going?
It seems kind of harmless to everyone else. Is there any, I don't know any of those. What's that?
What Owens did on the Star.
Right, but slamming the Star or Kyrie Irving kind of wiped his feet on the Celtics guy.
Yeah.
What did Baker in the flag?
Planted the flag at Ohio State.
That's a big thing, isn't it now, too? That happens more than once in football.
The dot and the O in Ohio State. Didn't someone do that recently? That's, or a dot in the I somewhere? Whatever. Yeah, something happened at Ohio State.
Lowercase J's.
Something happened at Ohio State this year.
Like you're doing German over there?
Umlauts?
Dots over the I.
It was something, yeah. Michigan and Ohio State have a lot of problems on their fields. You can't do
the Ohio State University.
Whatever.
Honestly, one more loss to Michigan. They should probably think about rebranding. Yes.
Is it still me?
Well, we have a game we want to play.
That's right.
Do we have time to play this game? I think we do. We're going to keep it quick. All right. So this was born out of famous musician and rap star Styles P, who admitted that he doesn't understand some Gen Z slang terms, which is a pretty big admission for somebody of his stature and caliber and coolness back in the 90s. So EJ said, well, do you guys know any Gen Z slang terms? And now we're going to get a quiz.
All right. Welcome to EJ's Gen Z slang quiz. So we're going to give you guys each 3 questions. We're going to go with Maggie first. And one thing we will have, Pete will be here as your lifeline. We talked about
good luck.
We talked about who wants to be
Gen Zer.
Well, listen to who you got, okay? So we had a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire conversation yesterday, and we're inspired by that. So Pete is going to be your lifeline. So you can use him for one question. So Maggie, you're going to go first.
Wait,
here.
How many questions am I answering?
3.
I'm answering 3 questions. All right, better get going.
So what does the term wig mean? A, something amazing. B, you are angry. C, someone is scared.
I think I'm going to go angry, like you're wigging out.
That is incorrect.
That would have been my guess, too.
What is it?
It is A, something amazing.
It is?
Yes.
Why?
That's wig.
Because it's the idea that, it's so great my wig flew off.
Oh,
that's the
my hair got
concept.
blown back.
Yeah, so you're 0 for 1 here.
I got to write this down.
Number 2, if someone says mood to something you say, what does that mean?
MOOD?
Yes.
Mood? Okay.
A, same here. B, they're bored. C, they want a mood ring.
Mood ring? That reminds me of my childhood. Agree. They agree.
You are correct.
Oh,
it is A. Same here. So you
Same
are 1 for 2 here. Final question here. Which one of these sentences uses the term bussin' correctly? A, I know I'm late. I'm busting over there right now. B, the bacon bits in my mom's mac and cheese are bussin'. C, did you get that jacket from the trash? It's bussin'.
Oh, no. I don't know any of these. The bacon bits, it's cool. It's good. Makes it better.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
All right.
2 for 3 for Maggie, and no use of Pete's lifeline here. So really good job, Maggie.
Guys,
okay.
I'm plugged in.
All right, so we're going to Perloff here.
Word.
Who's and by the way, we have Maggie, Millennial, Perloff, Gen Xer.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a generational debate of argument or rivalry here.
I hope you have an Ethan Hawke expression. Gen X in the house.
Oh, sorry about that. All right.
Reality bites.
Reality bites. I was trying to think of the name of that movie. Yeah.
Okay. What does the term "hits different" mean? A, weird or unusual. B, confusing or nonsensical. Or C, has a marked effect or impact.
Hits C.
You are correct.
Yeah.
C. It
Right.
has a marked effect or impact. So that's good there.
That one, I feel like we've heard that and it kind of makes common sense. Like, that's what. Give me the one like busing. Like I'll always go literal with these, just so you know. If you want to fool me, I was going to say busing. Of course, you're getting on the bus. Right? All right, go ahead.
Okay, so number 2 here. What does the term finna mean?
Say it again.
Finna.
Okay.
Spelling Finna?
Yes.
Finna?
Yes. A, secret conversation. B, finish. C, plan something.
Did you say finished or like from the country Finland?
No, finished like
language of origin, please.
Not the country.
Gen Zs can't stop talking about Finland.
Yeah, I was going to say. Wait,
Timu Solani.
what was C again? Sorry.
Plan something.
Plant something.
Plan
something. God, it can't be B. It would be that obvious, right? You know what? I promise to go literal. I'm going B.
That is incorrect.
Of
Sorry.
course.
C is the answer. Plan something. So like
Finna? Okay.
Yeah, I'm finna go to IHOP after this. You know, that's
Let's do that.
Yeah, it's a good idea, right? All right, so last question here.
All right.
Number 3.
1 for 1. I'm 1 for 2.
Which of these phrases means the same thing? A, simp, riz, drip. B, facts, no cap on God. C, slay, lit, L.
Oh my God, you're gonna have to slow way down here. All right.
That was like a rapid fire.
I know what some of those
I got
actually
the answer,
mean.
though.
Wait, do the first one again.
Simp, riz, drip. B, facts, no cap on God. C, slay, lit, L.
B.
You are correct.
That was a good one.
So 2 for 3, so a tie.
Tie. Wow.
What was that?
That was a very good last question, EJ.
Thank you. Well, I crowdsourced this through many BuzzFeed and other type.
Okay, so let's go through it just quickly. All right, so Perloff and I didn't do that badly. We
Pretty
know
good.
Gen Z pretty well. I think those last couple terms that you just used. So you got, what's the first one? It was Riz.
Yeah. Simp, riz, drip.
Okay, simp I know means like a simpleton or
No, not really.
someone who was
It used to mean that.
gullible and falls for
No,
stuff.
simp now means like so let's say I simp for Jessica Alba.
Oh, it means sympathy.
No, means like you're like
You're
in
out of your
love.
depth.
Why can't
You're
you
like a
just
sap-
use the words that the language already contains?
You're like a sap for some
Oh,
hot
like I'm a
person
fan.
or fan or
Oh.
like I'm a simp for Beyonce.
I've been using that way wrong.
Oh yeah, sounds like it.
Good thing I don't use it. Riz means charisma.
Yes.
Okay, that one we know. What was
Even
the other one?
Bilotti knew that one.
Yes.
Drip means I'm dressed well.
Yes.
Or I have
style.
Style, right. Okay, what were the other ones?
So the one that Pearl's got right, facts, no cap on God. So all mean the same thing, basically
Okay.
meaning
True.
I think one of the biggest things for people who are not in Gen Z, the cap, no cap, that really came out of nowhere for some of us. So cap means you're lying.
Yes.
And no cap means you're not lying.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm like the Rosetta
So
Stone.
does lying and liar and honesty. The
Do your
words
kids
are
say
already
this?
there.
Your kids are Gen Zers. Do they say this? Or they're a little young?
They're a little young, but
Perloff's kid.
Riz is in our house, and drip has been used in my house.
Who's Riz?
But I don't know the other ones.
I gotta tell you, I actually did a little prep work. I asked my daughter to give me some terms yesterday.
Give you a simp?
So she looked online. She goes, all right, let me see what they say Gen Z terms are. And she said, cap. She goes, and this is what she said. This is my third. What is this, 2019? Yes. I was like, whoa.
Burn.
She said that everything online was already 2 years passe on TikTok. I have no idea what the new terms are.
What does she say?
She didn't say any of this stuff. She never even speaks to me anymore. She's 13.
Because you're a simp. In the original meaning.
She does use the one term.
What definition?
All right. Are we doing any more here? Is everyone else going through it? Or
No,
what?
I mean those are
That was
those are.
good.
Those
Do you
are
know what the
names.
term ship means? That was
Yes.
one. Okay.
What
Both.
is-
love ship.
Does anyone
What
else
is
know
it?
what
A
ship is? Because that's
relationship?
my favorite.
Voyage of the Mimi.
Do you? Do you know? Oh, so
Yeah.
Wait,
So yeah.
what
so
is it?
Ship means like, oh, I'm shipping Taylor and Travis Kelce.
it means you like somebody else's relationship.
Yes.
You think they should be a couple.
They should be a couple. Now they are, but this was before maybe they got a couple.
Lucy loves that expression.
That's a voyeuristic society. You're only watching people online and
Yeah. Like they say
Comment,
it often when like you're watching a TV show
Right.
and there's like a couple who's like, oh, will they or won't they? They're like, oh, I'm shipping the two.
This is
I'm
the
shipping
batch-
Jim and Pam on The Office.
Yeah, right. We are
before
in a
they got together.
bachelorette society. We're talking
That's a
about
big
other
deal.
people's relationships. It's
My
already
kids
real.
love to talk about other relationships. Tom Holland and Zendaya is about half the conversation at dinner. I heard they broke up, by the way, but whatever.
Well, he denied those rumors.
And here we are talking about that.
That's why I love EJ. He's basically an extension of my kids.
Oh my gosh, that's weird.
No, in
to
a
me,
good
right?
way. Like
30
yeah.
years old, 32.
Aside from the sports stuff, the Marvel stuff, you're right there with them.
We have to break. I know this, so we're super late. I don't understand why regular people like us, like people why people get upset when celebrities break up. Like, what did that do to you?
We got to talk about this. Let's take a break and
Okay.
come back and talk about that.
Okay.
Sports.
Cowboys are keeping McCarthy, by the way.
Same dynamic.
855.
I'm not shipping McCarthy and the Cowboys.
Yeah, right. That's a no ship. 855-212-4CBS. Definitely didn't use that right. 855-212-4227.
Facts.
Thank you. Okay. Coming up, we got more, including we're moving around quarterbacks, finding new homes. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
get more into the Dallas Cowboys' decision to retain Mike McCarthy. He's sticking around, everybody, for at least one more year. George is in L.A., though. He's got a thought on going back to the wild card round. Big hit on Tyler Higbee that's getting some attention now. Hi, George. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. Yeah, even Stafford said it to Kirby Joseph that was a dirty hit. I mean, if you look at the replay, he went straight to his knees, and unfortunately, Tyler Higbee won't be ready for next season, and he might have to retire because of his age. But he did this earlier in the year in the Minnesota game against that Minnesota tight end, and also in that same game, he got a personal foul for pulling somebody else to foul. But then he claims, he's just doing his job. No, you weren't just doing your job. And the NFL, they can stop this. They can stop these hits on the knees, and they didn't even throw a flag for that. It was ridiculous. Thank you.
You know why that's really interesting? That hit's getting a lot of attention. They're going to watch Detroit, and especially Kirby Joseph, so closely in this next game that they'll throw a flag on anything. Because that was gross to see Higbee's knee turn like that. And then Collinsworth, though, what Collinsworth said about how the players don't mind head hits was not what the NFL wanted either. Anyway, I think the NFL does not want this going on, so they're going to officiate this game kind of closely.
Yeah, it was an interesting moment in the game. Devastating hit. Higbee's taken off the field. I didn't know that he's not going to play next year, too.
I think George was presuming that.
Okay,
I'm not sure that's true.
I don't know. And then Collinsworth goes on kind of lengthy for that kind of broadcast, lengthy sort of monologue about how he talks to players and they would much rather get hit in the head than hit at the knees.
That's definitely true, though.
And I'm sure, I don't think he's making that up.
100%, because the knee will take you out for a year.
But to George's point, why that wasn't, do you kick Joseph out of the game for that? They've done this before.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, when you have Matthew Stafford yelling at you on the field, Stafford's kind of mild-mannered. That's not good.
Coming up, a lot more on Mike McCarthy coming back as Dallas Cowboys head coach, and what does it mean for the rest of the NFL coaching cycle?
ends in 5 seconds.
He's the reigning Fortnite champion. She's a Call of Duty legend. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
As if things could not get worse for the Cowboys fans, you wake up to the news, or maybe you heard it last night. Mike McCarthy is sticking around as the head coach, signaling that this is an unserious team that does not actually care about winning Super Bowls. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. A lot going on. You want to know what I've realized about this move? And as you and I have talked about it here this morning, and we will continue to do so, and we want to hear from the Cowboy fans. I don't think this is met with the type of reaction Jerry Jones thought it was going to be met with. You know, a lot of times people like to keep, or Jerry seems to like to keep coaches around to deflect a lot of the blame from Jerry, right? You have a human shield, so to speak, that because the GM is the owner, you have a coach who's a lot more visible on the sideline so you can point to and blame. And boy, did we blame him for that loss to the Packers, and I think rightfully so. This has all been Jerry related. Like every response we've gotten so far, everything you and I have talked about this morning, I think Mike McCarthy is now actually an afterthought. It's like, all right, whatever. Mike McCarthy, of course you can't win with that guy. Jerry is the problem. I think Jerry's going to be surprised the backlash he's going to receive to this.
Yeah, I mean, the structure of the Cowboys has kept them from winning a Super Bowl. I think a lot of people, I've said that for a long time.
You have.
Jerry is not going to win a Super Bowl if he's this sort of hands-on with the team. It's just the way it is. I think you're right. People are pointing that out more than the fact that Mike McCarthy can't win a big game. But the reality is, I don't know that Jerry is actually aware of that. I think he will not hear that criticism.
Well, I mean, this is a guy who's extremely aware of his image.
But it's not new that Jerry should keep his hands off the team, and he's never done that before. I mean, the dude doesn't seem to care about that part of it.
There was always blame to be shared. Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, go back to Jason Garrett. We can go back to Tony Romo. We can go back to Jessica Simpson. We can go back to T.O. I mean, there was always somebody who he could blame, and you could look at and say, well, if this and this and this. And I don't think that's happening now, because I think people understand who McCarthy is. I'm going to use an example here, and I realize what I'm doing here is kind of crude. So I do not mean to, this is not meant to disrespect Mike McCarthy. I'm simply using this as an example. If you have a dog that keeps going to the bathroom on the floor, at some point you got to stop blaming the dog. It's the owner who's not housebreaking the dog correctly, right? So at some point, you got to stop blaming head coaches and blaming quarterbacks and all that. And it's on the top. It's on the head. And that used to be blame, and that's Jerry Jones in this analogy. This used to be blame that used to be divvied up. What I'm seeing now is that no one wants to divvy up the blame anymore. The Cowboy fan wants to put it squarely on Jerry's shoulders, and that's new.
I don't know if that's new. Like, they were blaming Jason Garrett, were they? Because everyone knew Jerry kept Jason Garrett around probably 3 years too long.
Oh, but we made fun of Jason Garrett. He's the clapper. He's this. He's that. You know, there was parts of the blame where Garrett would get the shrapnel, and it's like Jerry, I think, got spared a little bit.
But everyone said what you were saying, that Jerry likes having a yes man there. That's not new. Right, that everyone has known that Jerry wants, and so the Mike McCarthy is Jason Garrett all over again. That's why we should have seen this. That Jerry wants a guy who will do what he wants right there, because Jerry thinks that he can do it on his own. I understand what you're saying. It is coming down on him, but I kind of feel like we all knew that, no?
Yeah, again, I think you divvied up a lot of the blame. And to be fair, in the aftermath of the loss to the Packers, I blame Mike McCarthy. You blame Dan Quinn. I mean, you have to. You got to put blame on Dak Prescott as well. I mean, all the major players get the blame. But this feels unforgivable in some ways for Jerry, because you can't keep preaching Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, give people the hope, have the number 2 overall seed, have a home playoff game and lose to the youngest team in the NFL and look unprepared, punched in the mouth, whatever you want to say. Jerry himself called it the worst loss that he experienced. And so I think the Cowboy fans are saying, well, why are we experiencing these heartbreaking losses where you had many to choose from on whether this was the most heartbreaking? And that's because of Jerry. It's like the buck stops with him. He's got to wear all of this now.
But I think a lot of Cowboys fans said same old Cowboys. Nobody was shocked that this happened, right? What did we say coming into this year? Everybody, well, I said a million. They're going to be 12-5 and fall short in the playoffs. That's sort of their thing,
right? But
that's what they do best.
I get it, but I think the wins were. I think you and I fell into this. We really believed Mike McCarthy was going to be out. Like you really thought you were going to get a signal here that 12-5, but flaming out early in the playoffs was not going to be good enough.
Right.
And they told you last night, no. The postseason does not matter. It's all about the regular season.
That's not what they're saying.
I think so.
I think you're completely wrong about Jerry Jones. He desperately wants to win. But there's this thing about him, I don't know, this loyalty or this weirdness. I think he honestly thinks he and Steven and Mike McCarthy can turn this around. I think he has enough self-delusion that he thinks he can win a Super Bowl the way it's going. I don't think he's bringing back Mike McCarthy to go 12-5 again. I think he thinks they're close.
Oh, I don't. I think he's kicking sand in the eyes of the Dallas Cowboy fan.
Jerry, oh my God.
He's dangling the carrot out there for you guys, and everyone keeps blindly sort of following it. Like, yeah, Super Bowl team. And, to be honest, this is a Super Bowl roster. And that's the part of it that is the most.
Jerry built this roster. You know that.
Yeah.
You think Jerry is such a great GM? He built a Super Bowl roster?
I think this roster definitely has enough talent to win the Super Bowl. And you brought Mike McCarthy in. Maybe it was all wrong from the beginning, but you brought Mike McCarthy in not to go 12-5. You brought him in to win a Super Bowl for you.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, what were they the year before McCarthy got there?
Well, they had kind of spiraled to an 8-8 sort of situation.
Yeah, I don't think that necessarily they were. When McCarthy got there, no one's saying, oh, Mike McCarthy's going to win a Super Bowl. Did we?
Yeah. Remember, Dak got hurt the first year, and Andy Dalton played.
Mike McCarthy
and they
was
went
not he was not Bill Belichick this year. Mike McCarthy was kind of down. Everyone's like, oh, you're bringing back Mike McCarthy, guy who was on his couch last year. McCarthy was definitely way down as far as reputation goes.
But had the Super Bowl pedigree.
Kinda.
Okay, so why do you hire a head coach? If it's not to win a Super Bowl, what is the point?
Well, McCarthy immediately turned around the offense, got them back on track. He's good at that.
Okay,
and then,
great. So regular season wins.
No, I can't explain why he's bringing back. He is not getting teams prepared for the playoffs. But Garrett wasn't even doing the regular season wins. They were not 12-5 3 years in a row under Jason Garrett. So first he had to get back to being a playoff team. That was quite important. Now, so McCarthy gets there and he gets to a certain level. He's looking around and I think Jerry said, my options aren't quite as strong as everyone says they are. Because you're talking about what? Harbaugh, Vrabel, and Belichick. I don't think he's hiring Jim Harbaugh because that's a lot of ego in one room. And I don't think Vrabel's as exciting to him as everyone else. And Belichick is old.
Think about what you just said, though, about Jim Harbaugh. Not hiring him. Why? Not because he's not a good candidate. Not because he might be better at this than Mike McCarthy. It's because there's too much ego in the room.
Yeah, no doubt.
That is so deflating if you are a Cowboy fan because, again, this is why it falls at the feet of Jerry. Because you're actively working against your own franchise if you won't bring in or even entertain a more talented coach because it doesn't match with your ego.
Well, I had to say, if you're a Cowboy fan who just figured that out and didn't realize it in 1994 when he fired Jimmy Johnson, then you're not a savvy Cowboys fan. He's been doing this for 3 decades, Maggie.
I know, but Perloff, he was always able to share the blame, and I think he wants a head coach around who can take some of that blame away from him, and I'm here to let him know the Cowboy fans aren't going to do that this time. They're not going to. Mike McCarthy losing is now a given. Mm-hmm. You've watched it 3 years in a row. There's nothing that's going to change. So I think Jerry is not understanding what he just did to alienate the fan base.
I think Cowboys fan. I mean, he kicked out Jimmy Johnson. They know the drill here.
There's been a whole generation of fans since that happened.
Cowboys fans never forget. There's old Cowboys fans who are still mad that he fired Tom Landry. I think everyone knows the drill with Jerry Jones. He kept Jason Garrett around for so long.
Yeah.
They know what's going on here. No one's being surprised today by Jerry Jones.
I disagree. I think this was surprising.
To Cowboys fans, I don't think so.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Nathan is in York, Pennsylvania. Hey, Nathan, what's up?
Hey, I mean, when you look at this roster, the Cowboys roster, I don't know. If you look, where do you really want to improve at aside from, I mean, the quarterback play? They got a top 5 defense. They got an amazing receiving core. I mean, the talent is there. I think that they're in win now mode. And, I mean, if you put Andy Reid on that team, do you think that Andy Reid was going to be forcing the ball to CeeDee Lamb? I don't think so in that situation. I think it was predictable. And I don't know. I think when you really look at, I know a lot of times we blame the head coaches and stuff too easily, but when you look at it, that's a very good roster. I mean, if you put, take the Mahomes and Reed analogy, put them on that team, that's a Super Bowl team.
Oh, I totally. You don't think that? First of all, the O line's getting a little creaky. That you can run. The D line is not big enough to stop the run, and that receiving core is. You think it's an outstanding receiving core?
Yeah, sure. Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. Those are
Jake Ferguson. I'm with Nathan on this one. Look at what the Chiefs, their receiving core is a major Achilles heel. And who's saying they can't beat Buffalo this weekend in Buffalo? Like, they could go easily back to the Super Bowl.
When Dak throws it to anyone besides CD, he's seriously risking a bobble interception. I mean, that's been the problem.
Nathan, thank you for the phone call.
That Dak doesn't trust anyone except CD Lamb. That's what happened last year against the Niners. In a big moment, those guys are just not coming up big.
Okay. And that's where, again, you criticize Mike McCarthy for that because you're, A, never going to have a perfect roster, and B, you've got to find a way to get other guys open, make this a little easier for Dak Prescott, all the things that the Texas coast was supposed to do for you. And I'm going to disagree. Like, you can't say that was not a storyline all year that the offensive line is crumbling. Like,
the offensive line has had so many different formulations over the last 2 years because guys are coming in and out a lot. But
we're talking about this year. We're talking about going into
even
that
this year. No, they had a lot of different starting lineups throughout the year. They've been in and out.
That was not a story.
He's saying it's Super Bowl team. I'm just telling you that offensive line, it's getting long in the tooth. That's definitely like saying if you're looking at next year, like you can't count on these guys anymore. Tyron Smith and Zach Martin are mid-30s.
Okay, but they got Tyler Smith, they got Bogusch, whatever pronounce his name. It's not like they're all super old. I think they've done a good job there. I'm not letting them off the hook
all
with
that talent. Jake Ferguson. I mean. Yeah, he played really well, but in part because Dak is great throwing to tight ends. Who was Jake Ferguson before this year? And Gallup hasn't been the same since his injury, and Brandon Cooks did not come up big.
Well, I mean, Dalton Schultz is still alive in the playoffs. Maybe they should have kept him around. Let's go to Levi's in Arkansas. Hey, Levi, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Maggie? Longtime Cowboy fan here, almost 40 years. That was the worst loss we've taken in playoff history. And the Green Bay Packers have a better record in Jerry World than we do in the playoffs. So to me, that I don't know. That's just a fireable offense. And I think after we finally shed this 50-year hype train that's been around us, we might win a Super Bowl. So I think at this point there's too much pressure on the players. Jerry's an egomaniac. Mike McCarthy's too soft. There's just so many problems, and it's almost unforgivable at this point. I don't know if I'm going to be okay. So thanks for taking my call.
No, Levi, I get it. And I think, again, you're pointing to Jerry. Because if you're saying there's too much hype around the team, the hype's not earned, deserved, whatever, who's the mouthpiece that's out there with you can't go 5 minutes without Jerry Jones weighing in on something, It's like what the Jets fans experienced this year with Aaron Rodgers. When you have somebody who's that out there and who's creating this much around them, that's what the person wants. Like, Jerry could not do radio interviews. He could disappear tomorrow. He doesn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the caller had a great point. Did the pressure of all the expectations get to that team? Green Bay was playing with house money. You could see that. They were loose as all get out. I wonder, this hype train, we talk about all the ratings and all the popularity and all the attention. Is that actually one of the things that's hurting them? Because it could be. They looked nervous. Like they knew, God, we really can't lose. Where the Packers said, hey, might as well try and win. I don't see any of that in Dallas.
Mike is in West Virginia. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing great. What's up?
Well, a few things. There's so many things you can touch on. I'm a longtime Cowboy fan as well. I'm very frustrated. You can see on YouTube all the people that showed how they felt about it last night when that decision was made. You can talk about the Shanahan tree of coaches that Mike McCarthy simply just can't beat. There's so many things that you can touch on right now with this team. And you had a caller a couple calls ago. He had mentioned about the roster being really good. Look, our team is a good team, okay?
Yeah.
It's not a great team. The defense needs some work. There are a few pieces from being a great defense. The offense, they need more than CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson. Pollard wasn't the guy that they thought he was going to be. The other receivers didn't really show up. I mean, Brandon Cooks occasionally.
Yeah.
But where was Michael Gallup all year? I mean, my gosh, they paid him a lot of money. He didn't really do anything. All these things. But what I want to say is Jerry Jones, when he bought this team, he had to make a splash. He did that with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
And they won Super Bowls. They were great. And they got everybody's attention. He's been doing this, leading us along. I agree, the whole dangling the carrot thing. He's a businessman.
Yeah, and business is booming, whether you have a Super Bowl or not.
Contract.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say. I think we're just frustrated, and it's not going anywhere, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I feel you, and I get that disappointment, the frustration. It's like you're stuck in neutral. It's not mediocrity necessarily because you are winning 12 games, but it's just uninspired.
So let me ask you, as a businessman, why is it a good move to bring back Mike McCarthy from a business standpoint?
I think from a business standpoint, I think the juggernaut of the Cowboys continues, or this is a misstep from Jerry. Jerry, I don't think he's reading the room on this. And to be honest, I think he's been off for quite a bit because he used to be over risky and take on too much risk. Now he's not taking enough, and he's not finding the medium here, the middle.
I think he's been off, doing the math, 29 years.
855-212.
Nothing is, everything you say now, you can say in 1994.
And we will say in 2034. Okay. Your phone calls on the Cowboys are welcome at 855-212-4CBS. It is Thursday, which means we dive into sports' greatest what-ifs and what could-have-beens. It's called the Multiverse of Maggie and Perloff, and it comes your way in just moments. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Sorry.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back on Maggie and Perloff. All right, it is Thursday, which means Maggie and Perloff Multiverse, where we look at how the sports world could have changed. Just one little thing had gone differently, and today's a good one.
Wait, hold on, before you say it.
Oh, we have music, sorry.
Exploring sports' biggest what-ifs and could-have-beens. Let's dive into the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff.
So when we started doing the multiverse, I think this is the first one we had. When we were brainstorming this idea, I seem to remember that the one we're going to do, which you can announce, is sort of one of the 2 or 3 biggest ones in our brains, how the whole sports world could have changed on a dime 15 years ago.
Today's question, the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff, what if Nick Saban had never left the Miami Dolphins and gone to coach Alabama? Okay, from both sides of this is kind of like earth-shattering consequences. So you have Nick Saban goes to the Dolphins 2005. They actually went 9-7 the first year. The next year they went 6-10. Very famously, Nick Saban said that he wanted Drew Brees as the quarterback. There was a trade maybe even in place for Drew Brees, but it got nixed by the Miami Dolphins medical staff. They end up going with Dante Culpepper instead. He ended up getting injured in that season where Joey Harrington started 11 games in 2006. And ultimately, Nick Saban ends up leaving for Alabama, but not before he had sort of publicly made a declaration that he wanted to stay at Miami. Guys, do we have the Nick Saban sound?
I don't know how else I can say it, guys. I've said it 3 different occasions. Well, then I guess I have to say it. I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. I think I've said this over and over and over.
And this is part of the reason why we don't believe coaches, because they lie to us. Nick Saban's not the only one. So, of course, Saban goes to Alabama. The rest is history with 6 national titles.
Well, I think we have our answer to what happens here, because we're seeing it in real time unfold. What's Alabama like without Nick Saban? And the answer is they are not Alabama.
Okay, first of all, they haven't played a game yet with Kalen DeBoer, so let's stop writing the obituary for Alabama quite yet.
It's 65% written. I mean, who's going to win them football games? They're all leaving. I just saw the mascot enter the transfer portal yesterday.
No.
It is so bad. But look at the records before Nick Saban got there. They were 6-7 with Mike Shula, and Shula got fired midseason. They were 10-2 the year before that, 6-6. Get ready. I'm telling you right now, they are not going to be Alabama anymore. Nick Saban made that program. I'm sorry. I know Alabama has a rich history, and maybe they would have found another great coach, but we would not have had a national title Alabama team. And honestly, I don't think Nick Saban would have done anything in Miami either because he just didn't have the team around him. Randy Mueller was his GM. They were not building a championship team. So it would have been a little bit like Belichick in Cleveland. I don't think the Saban thing ever happens. I think eventually he would have left Miami and gone to a different college and won there. He is suited to college, and he was going nowhere in the pros, and Alabama was going nowhere without him. That's exactly what would happen here.
Listen, Saban did one of the classic, now I think in the moment we didn't know it as much, but it turned out to be a classic mistake, which is nobody should have entered the AFC East while Brady and Belichick were in their prime. It was an impossible giant to slay. And the dominance and the stranglehold that they had, I don't even think Nick Saban, for as brilliant as a coach as he is, I don't even think he would have been able to put a dent into what was a runaway freight train of AFC East, just complete destruction. So I think the timing of him entering the division would have been bad. I don't know if he would have figured it out at another NFL stop. I'm not sure about that, but I know for certain I don't think that Alabama would have been able to, they wouldn't nearly have been what they are today if Saban doesn't go there, right?
Yeah,
He already won a championship at LSU.
Just a little counter argument. Rex Ryan made a little bit of a dent with the Jets. And so if Rex Ryan can do it, couldn't Nick Saban have done it? Because the Patriots were a little bit down between 07 and 11. I don't know. I'm not sure I totally agree with that. But
Wait, they took them out in the playoffs once.
Right.
And the Jets went to back-to-back AFC championship games. We're talking about 17 division titles.
No, I just think that part of the reason was because of the incredible incompetence around the rest of the division. I think if
chicken or the egg.
Exactly. I think a competent coach might have been able to make a dent there. But that Miami team, I remember that Nick Saban team, they were not good. Well, as Saban said, the second that they didn't sign Drew Brees, it was over. So he would have had a string of mediocrity and went back to a different college. Assume Alabama found a different coach. He probably would have led, I don't know, maybe he goes to Michigan and turns them into a champion, or maybe Ohio State or something. So I think he would have been back. Doesn't he seem more suited for college? I think the spirit of this, he was never going to win in the NFL. I don't know what it is. I think Nick Saban was born to be a college coach.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. And obviously the hardware would back that up. He had already was a winner at LSU, then tried the NFL, and it didn't work. Do you think that the Miami Dolphins, who haven't won a playoff game in, we're talking a long time here, right? Haven't won a home playoff game probably in even longer. Maybe we're going back to Dan Marino with a home playoff game. And I don't know if Saban would have still been that bad.
Yeah, you could be right. But I don't think, it didn't feel like he was going to last there, though. Here's a question. If Drew Brees was their quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, well, that's another big what if.
Yeah, I wonder if he'd have gotten the right quarterback, could he have won? But I don't know. I'm playing Monday morning quarterback here. My hunch is no, that he was not designed for the NFL. I'll tell you, he was designed for Alabama, though. Wait, when's the last time they won a playoff game? I haven't realized the
Miami Dolphins, I think the last time they won a home playoff game was Dan Marino. You got to double check me on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm looking back. I think we're talking 25 years ago. Wow.
EJ can get on that as Bogusch is here with headlines. You want to weigh in on our multiverse here?
I'm with Perloff on the fact that he's just not an NFL coach. That it just would not have worked out at some point in the future if he stayed initially, that it still would have been like, okay, this is not for me. I don't know that he would have the same success if the perfect storm would have existed somewhere else 2 years after the fact. But he's just not an NFL coach, which is fine. They're two completely different jobs. He's supposed to be in college football.
Yeah, we've seen the same thing with Steve Spurrier was not an NFL coach. Urban Meyer was definitely not an NFL coach.
Yeah, but Pete Carroll. But here's the thing about Urban Meyer, as awful as that was in Jacksonville, if he got a second shot at it, do you think he's not making anywhere close to those same mistakes? He'd be a fool if he was making those same mistakes.
No, part of Urban's mastery is he just destroys the recruiting trail too. I think Nick Saban's a great recruiter.
Yeah,
it's a completely different.
By the way,
set.
Miami Dolphins last time they won a playoff game, 2000.
Yeah,
Peyton Manning.
What about home playoff game?
That was, I believe, a home playoff.
That was a home playoff game. Okay, so it's been a while.
Gosh, I didn't realize they are such a bad franchise. You're right.
Yeah, they've basically been non-existent when it comes to Super Bowl contention. And it was weird because when they got Saban, there was the idea that, okay, it looks like they're really moving in the right direction. First year, 9-7 with Gus Frerotte playing quarterback. And then the just house of cards came down.
Bogusch has got some headlines. Hello.
Guys, not one but two last-moment shots in the NBA last night. Anthony Simons got the Blazers a rare win.
Bounce pass into Simons. Clock starts to run. Down to 3. Simons takes off. He drives. He floats it up and got it! With 0.2 of a second left in the Blazers lead. 105-103. Timeout, Brooklyn.
That's Travis Demers on Blazers Radio. Portland snapping a 4-game skid with a 105-103 decision over the Nets. Before that, it was DeJounte Murray in Atlanta.
DeJounte drives, trying to catch the Magic off guard. Pulls up for a two-pointer and makes it right at the buzzer. And the Hawks win. DeJounte Murray just saved the day for the Hawks. They win it at the buzzer.
Steve Holman on Hawks Radio. Atlanta sneaking past Orlando 106-104. The Pelicans hit a team record 25 threes in a 132-112 knockdown of the Hornets. The Knicks outscored the Rockets 109-94. And the Raptors boat raced the Heat 135-95 hours after dealing Pascal Siakam to the Pacers. The veteran forward reportedly ready to talk extension with Indy. Men's college hoops, top-ranked UConn took care of number 18 Creighton 62-48. Head coach Dan Hurley is taking their first number one in 15 years very seriously.
Somebody should have to pry it out of our lifeless body and our dead hands. I mean, we should we should play so hard to keep this thing right now that somebody's got to rip it out of our lifeless body.
So cap or no cap? That's the riz of a serial killer? Wow.
Oh, wow. That is, it's like they should have to put us in a body bag and then put that body bag 6 feet underground and then they can take it from
I'd set us on fire just to make sure we can't come back from the dead, and then maybe you could have the number one ranking.
Yeah, if there's an ice pick around, pick that up and drive it straight through our hearts. That's what you're going to have to do.
If you don't burn us like the guys in Game of Thrones, we're going to come back to life, frozen blue eyes, and take the number one ranking back.
That's awesome.
Now, in the Hurley nightcap, Bobby's Arizona State team took a 68-66 home loss from UCLA. ASU was called for 4 techs in the second half of a chippy game. The Bruins shooting 9 more free throws as the visitors. So Danny, unhappy post-game.
We're the bad guys. So say hello to the bad guys. You may never see a bad guy like us again, but that's who we were tonight. We were the bad guys. So I'm sure no one else said anything except us all night.
I got his name right once, not twice. That's Bobby Hurley, obviously, and they're the bad guys.
Yeah. Bobby Hurley once admitted that he drinks 3 Red Bulls before each game.
It feels like it.
Oh, you watched him coach on the sidelines? He looks like it.
I'm sure that's healthy.
Exactly. How are you not just like levitating over the bench at that point?
It's so funny because I know of course, Bobby Hurley played for Coach K, who was just like this stoic figure on the sidelines. But I mean, well,
Coach K gets
not like Bobby
people's,
Hurley. I mean, he's kind of
what's.
He's like the standard what college basketball coach is supposed to be. But Bobby is his dad. He is not Coach K because his dad was like this. Yes. Who coached, of course, high school basketball in New Jersey. You think the point guard, the point guard for Duke basketball would be a little more cool, but that's not Bobby Hurley.
I mean, no. I think 3 Red Bulls. I don't know what else, and I'm just saying Red Bull, but it could be any energy drink. What could you do that's worse? Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, smoking an entire pack of cigarettes, like, is that worse than 3 Red Bulls?
But you guys remember
30 games a season?
Do you guys remember Darryl Armstrong of the Orlando Magic?
Yeah.
He would drink an entire pot of coffee and 4 chocolate bars before each game.
Yeah, that doesn't seem good either.
Yeah, that's like, because you get dehydrated, right?
Well, no, it just gets you. It's like amphetamines. It gets you so high.
Caffeine.
And look at baseball players used to use greenies, right? I mean,
yeah, but nobody says
you got to be in the zone.
I'm saying that's definitely not healthy.
I got to tell you, I am a little worried because I drink a lot of coffee. What's worse, coffee or Red Bull? Which has more caffeine?
I think the energy drinks have more caffeine.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
By a lot, yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever had a Red Bull?
I've had many Red Bulls, but Starbucks, to me, the caffeine level in a Starbucks is huge.
Red Bull is my go-to bar drink. It's part of my go-to bar
drink.
Well, because I don't drink alcohol, so I stole it from Chad Ochocinco.
Oh.
Gives you a little buzz.
Keep up with everybody.
Yeah, well, Chad Johnson does a cranberry juice and Red Bull. That is his go-to. And I was like, I'm going to steal that.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious.
It's pretty good.
When I was a bartender in New York City, I always used to think this was the funniest move. It'd be like bars in New York are open until 4 a.m. So it would be last call, 3:30, whatever, 3:45. And some people would come up and be like, you know what? I just need one for the road. Just give me a Red Bull and vodka. I'm like, for the road? That's for the rocket ship, you mean, not for the road. That is a tough one. Nobody's driving generally in New York, so it's, and you shouldn't anyway. But it was always fun to me. It's like, I just want from the road. Just give me a Jaeger bomb to go. I'm like, a Jaeger bomb?
Do you ever go to sleep when you get home?
I don't think so. I don't think they're going home.
Well, yeah.
So Red Bull has 111 milligrams per can. A 16-ounce Starbucks has 260 milligrams of coffee.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Really?
Starbucks packs it in. That's why there's a line around the corner. We're all junkies.
Yeah, we're all
16 ounces is actually huge.
That's a massive
Yeah, sorry. That's a big one. But still, I think Starbucks coffee has more caffeine than anything you're going to find out there. That's why
you gotta get one of those Colombian coffees that I had a teacher once who was he was crazy.
The little cafe.
Yeah, he got it imported. He was like, I'm not doing your Starbucks crap. I'm getting the real stuff. And I believed him because he was crazy.
All-time great David Letterman top 10 line, top 10 signs you're drinking too much coffee was you're passing everybody on the freeway and you're not in a car. It's a great line. Bogusch, what else you got?
The ACC is asking the North Carolina Supreme Court for damages from FSU for, quote, serial breaches of critical legal promises and obligations. I'll translate. The conference is mad that FSU says the conference is lame and is looking for an exit. The two have been trading legal briefs in multiple states over this argument over the last couple of weeks. And two bits of breaking news from college football. One is there's a school called Northwestern Oklahoma State. Not Northwestern, not Oklahoma, not Oklahoma State. Altogether, Northwestern Oklahoma State. And the D2 school has hired Jerry Glanville as defensive coordinator. He's not even the head coach, and it's not the mid-90s. Glanville most recently coached, as we remember well, the Alabama Airborne of Major League Football.
Major League Football.
Major League Football. Not the XFL thing or the other outdoor spring league. Major League Football.
Is that like basketball? Like the movie?
I didn't want to know. I don't have any more brain space for the Alabama Airborne.
Northwest Oklahoma State.
Northwestern Oklahoma State.
Pardon me. The Roadrunners. I have no idea. I think Rex Ryan went there.
No. Are you sure that's where he went?
I think so. Or maybe his first coaching job was there. But Jerry Glanville's still around. That's great to hear, I guess.
We bring back the grit splits. I mean, what that was the thing I thought about. I was like, I'm sorry, if I was at this school, a D2 school.
You would have no idea who Jerry Glanville was if you were this young.
I'd also transfer. I'm hitting the portal.
Why?
There's no way, and I love Jerry Glanville. He's actually one of my favorite football characters of all time.
Yeah, he's quite
There's no way an 80-year-old man who last coached in Major League Football knows how to break down a RPO offense and say, okay, this is how we're going to attack this. No chance. You're going to get smoked with this guy as your defensive coordinator.
It's Division II. Well,
yeah.
I don't
My thought was
be better. I think that's the point. You don't have a talent gap.
My thought was actually, if you are coach of the Alabama Airborne, is there a lot of pressure to pass the ball all the time? You can't be like a run attack and be called the Alabama Airborne.
And by the way, on the Rex Ryan school he went to, and you're going to love this.
I love this. I'm so excited for you to say it.
Southwestern Oklahoma State.
Right.
I was so close.
Not Northwestern. He went to Southwestern Oklahoma State.
Are you sure they didn't rebrand?
Aren't they really good at Southwestern Oklahoma State? Like, he went to like a D2 powerhouse, I seem to remember.
I don't know. He's in the Hall of Fame there.
Where'd Dennis Rodman go?
Somewhere in Dallas, I thought.
But
it
you're
was
right.
a community college in Dallas, I think.
Yeah, but I thought a directional Oklahoma school, too.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, he went to Southwestern Oklahoma State,
Did
too.
he really?
Yeah.
Dennis did?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought it was Dallas.
I think they're actually really good at sports.
But Northwestern Oklahoma State trying to keep up with the Joneses or the Ryans and Rodmans by saying, all right, we got to get some star power in here.
Yeah.
Jerry Glanville, what are you doing?
It's been a war between these two teams. It's a blood feud.
Yeah,
Who can sign the bigger name?
Yeah, I mean, do they have like something that you get at the end of the rivalry game, like a bucket or something?
You get a compass, right? Northwestern, Southwestern, that's the compass got to be the trophy.
If it's Rex Ryan, it would be a bowl of M&Ms.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
Yeah, a picture of his wife's
feet.
feet.
There you go.
I get closer. An old pair of sweat socks.
Yeah, someone just shoe.
Come on.
Actually, one coach has to give the other coach his wife's Sandals.
Oh, jeez.
Playing for the laundry bin. Here are my sweaty socks.
Do I get to sleep with your wife? No, but you can smell her feet. It's the Rex Ryan Cup.
Gross.
Is this what Jerry Glanville signed up for in his 80s? God bless him, though.
That was the first incarnation of the new CBS deal with the NFL. That was like what, mid-90s when he was on that panel?
Yeah, he was on NFL Today.
Yeah.
Jerry?
Jerry Glanville was awesome.
He was great on television.
He was an awesome coach when he was in Atlanta. It was wild scene down there.
Yeah, didn't he coach Deion? I want to say he was the coach.
Probably.
Yeah, and he gets blamed for getting rid of Favre.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of, he did a lot of things, but that was one of them, which is like, how could you trade away Brett Favre? But Favre wasn't the guy who he became in Green Bay.
Well, I think of 90s football, I think of Jerry Glanville and Buddy Ryan, two complete psychopaths on the sideline. That's when the league was great.
A cowboy hat? A black
that's
cowboy?
That's Bum Phillips with the cowboy hat.
Yeah, but I thought the Jerry Glanville
I think he wore one too.
I
think he also tended to wear sunglasses a lot.
He has one on now.
It was the black hat.
Yes,
was
you're
kind of
right.
like, that was his thing, all in black, like Johnny Cash.
And just to close the southwestern Oklahoma State loop, they are actually not a good football program, especially on the D2 level. They have not made the D2 playoffs yet.
Well, good thing they got Jerry in
But now
there.
they got Jerry. Oh, no, this is the other. This is not the one he's at.
Oh,
this
sorry.
is the buddy and the
So they're trying,
Rex
they're trying to bury their
Ryan.
rival.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what's the mascot?
The Northwestern, I don't know.
Volunteer.
You switched me over to the other side because of bringing up Rex Ryan.
I'm sorry, I can't.
They seem to be the Bulldogs.
So they ended up there because is the Ryan family from Oklahoma? Buddy must be an Oklahoman. That explains a lot. Yeah, like why would they go to southwestern Oklahoma State?
They were born in Oklahoma. So yeah,
That'd be a great movie, by the way. If you're doing the Von Erichs, do the Ryan family.
That actually would be a great
Where's
movie.
Rob?
He was coaching till very recently, right? Like in the 2020s.
I think maybe
He was,
Jerry Glanville beat him out for the defensive coordinator job.
He was on the Raiders staff in 2022.
But nowhere this year?
No, I think this was a one and done.
Got it.
Oh no, sorry, he's still there. Senior defensive assistant. I don't know how long. I don't know how much longer he'll be there. I mean, Antonio Pierce may come in and shake some things up, but
Interesting. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. That all just happened. We've got more for you, including, of course, the big news that Mike McCarthy is staying as the Cowboys head coach. We also had a new coach introduced yesterday, and I'll tell you what, it's not Bill Belichick's New England Patriots anymore, that's for sure. We'll let you hear from Gerard Mayo in just moments. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Man, I feel like I had all these notes about the multiverse, and then I just couldn't find them.
3 minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, you can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free. Sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Okay, you might convince yourself that things are going well in Alabama, or things are going to be okay in Alabama because you're Alabama. But the reality of sports, Maggie, is that it is nearly impossible to follow a legend, especially one like Nick Saban, who might be the GOAT.
Right.
That is automatically a losing proposition. And Kellen DeBoer, coming from Washington, now has to deal with everybody going to the transfer portal. According to 24/7 Sports, they've lost already 28 players to hit the portal, including All-American safety Caleb Downs and everything left tackle Caden Proctor. And there are other recruits who hadn't officially gotten in the building yet that have just said, nah, I'm not going to come to Alabama now. So it seems like this could be a really tough job. I even wonder if Jalen Milroe in the second transfer portal says, I don't want to stick around. I think they are screwed. We're going to see a precipitous fall in Tuscaloosa.
Okay, so where do you want to set the bar here? Like, how many wins are we talking
about?
So
I'm saying this is their first time since really Saban's second year that they do not get to double-digit wins. I know they play a lot of games in college football right now. I say they are below 10 wins, and I will bet anybody here that they don't hit the 10 mark.
Okay, show bet. Does Alabama get to the 10-win mark? I mean, I'm actually going to take that bet, and I'm going to tell you why. I think one of the reasons why Kalen DeBoer got this job over a lot of other qualified candidates who were part of the Saban coaching tree or had more familiarity with Alabama is because he was not known as this master recruiter when he was at Washington. He was doing this with a lot of guys who were the 3 stars and the 4 stars. Alabama's been 5-star after 5-star. I mean, this is what you needed, somebody who is going to be able to coach up the guys they have. Now, again, are you stepping up a weight class a little bit from the Big Ten to the SEC? Or excuse me, Pac-12, soon to be Big Ten to the SEC? Yes, but it's not like, I don't think it's that big of a difference. Am I...
Oh,
Listen,
man.
Perloff, you still get to play the Vanderbilts and stuff like that. And yes, you are getting some... I'm not going to tell you that the SEC is not the premier college football conference. Of course they are. I'm just saying, I think there are wins to be had here because DeBoer's a good coach and he's done it with guys who are not 5 stars in the past.
I will easily take this 10-win.
Okay. By the way,
Alabama bet,
a lot of that non-5-star thing was because they got a superstar quarterback, a guy who could throw for 4,000 yards at Indiana, and Michael Penix. If you could do that at Indiana, you can definitely do that at Washington. So I think he made a lot of that work. But go ahead. EJ, what's your logic?
Well, they also have 3 wide receivers who are probably going to the NFL too. I mean, definitely Rome Odunze probably could be going top 10.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that you're saying that he could do it without great recruits. Yeah, in part because he had Penix gunning the ball all over the field. I'm not sure that formula is going to work in Alabama. What are you going to say, EJ?
No, I am all in on Alabama. I think DeBoer's can do a really good job there. But 10 wins, I'm including the bowl game because that counts to your overall record in college football. So including the bowl game, they get the 10 wins because they have a lot of guys in the transfer portal right now, and that is concerning. I believe DeBoer will, recruit these guys back. They haven't left yet.
Right.
So I'd say 28 guys, I'd say half of those guys are on Alabama's roster next year, number 1. And number 2, he got lucky because he's going to be – he has the recruiting class they got this year. Signing day just passed.
Yeah.
So all these kids signed their letters of intent. They can't hit the portal now. They would have to wait. They would have to wait another year. So those kids are stuck. And they had the number 2 recruiting class in the country. So you're going to have maybe half of these kids. You got all the guys you have still on Alabama, which is Alabama. I mean, the second team could beat most teams.
Right.
And then you get the number 2 recruiting class in the country. Kalen DeBoer is a mastermind offensively. I think you could scheme your way to a lot of wins in college football, especially with the talent Alabama has. I think they get the 10 wins fairly easily.
Okay, look at the schedule. You got Western Kentucky, USF, then at Wisconsin for your non-conference. Listen, Georgia, that's not going to be a lot of fun. At Vandy, South Carolina, at Tennessee, Mizzou, at LSU, then Mercer, at Oklahoma, and then, of course, you end with the Iron Bowl. There are wins on this.
Don't look past Mercer. You've made that mistake before. Alabama's already lost 6 big-time recruits, including 2 5-star recruits. 5-star receiver Ryan Williams left the day Saban retired, and they lost the number 1 edge rusher in the country in Zion Grady after Saban retired. So it's fallen apart. Here's the problem. Nobody in the Southeast knows who Kalen DeBoer is. Why would they stay? These guys were not recruited by Kalen DeBoer, as many people pointed out. More people are going to leave in the second transfer portal. It's going to be a very hard job. It's a rebuild.
Okay, but you're talking about what Alabama is now a national pool of recruits. How all of the quarterbacks have been from California anyway. Like you don't he can get his inroads into the South.
He already missed the big window. I think he's going to need time. And
Alabama,
they're not going to give it to him.
10 wins. Now we got to put some stakes on this thing. 855-212-4CBS. Big shakeup. Big news, rather, with the Dallas Cowboys. We explain it all.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She can put away a large pizza by herself. He's allergic to cheese. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Just devastated. I feel devastated, Perloff, for the Dallas Cowboy fans. And good morning. Welcome to Maggie and Perloff. You think change is coming. You just got kicked in the teeth by the Green Bay Packers, the youngest team in the NFL, came into your home stadium, kicked you around. You thought, finally, we're going to get rid of our head coach, make some changes around here, and really try to win a Super Bowl. And instead, you get the news yesterday that Mike McCarthy will be back next season to coach the Cowboys.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is not the end of the bad news for Dallas because they got some serious problems this offseason. And whoever was coming in there has those. If they did hire someone instead of McCarthy, you might not have a Super Bowl roster now. I don't think you did. Maggie, you think they did? Next year, it's going to be even worse because they have to figure out Dak Prescott's $60 million cap hit. They have to pay Micah Parsons. They have to pay CeeDee Lamb. And a lot of guys are getting old there.
Yeah.
And that's just a reality of the team. It's going to be hard to keep them at the level they're at now. 12-5 is aspirational now. I'm not sure that Dallas is on the brink of a Super Bowl. In fact, I think they might take a small step back next year.
Wow. I mean, just the last thing you want to hear when you are going into the postseason with the number 2 seed, 2 home games, presumably, before you would have to meet the vaunted San Francisco 49ers in what would be year 3 of that matchup. And now you got nothing to show for it. And all you have is an owner who has just been stringing you along that they're serious about competing for a Super Bowl when they're not. Because if you were serious about competing for a Super Bowl, you would take the perceived risk of removing McCarthy and trying to find a better answer. Because you can just stay on the treadmill and do the same thing, and winning 12 games is impressive, but that's not where you're at as a franchise. You're not at winning 12 games like feels good. That's not what this is. You are trying to break a pattern that has existed for nearly 30 years. And it's just the same old thing. And you got to feel hopeless if you are a Dallas Cowboy fan, because your team is good, just good enough, but
to give you hope and then crush your dreams.
Just not serious.
Well, let me offer an alternative for Cowboys fans. What if you said, hey, we're a normal franchise. We don't have the star on our helmet. 40 million people don't tune in to watch all our games. Why don't we do a rebuild? Why don't we move on from Dak Prescott, get a new young coach in his 30s, which is the style these days. They're doing really well. Look at D'Amico Ryans in Houston, Shane Steichen in Indy. Why don't we just say, let's take a step back before we move forward? That's the thing. You can't afford to do that.
Well, this is where the Jerry Jones effect, which, believe me, impacts every single level of this, and we all know that. But this is where the Jerry Jones effect and being the Dallas Cowboys really can hurt you, because they can't do that type of rebuild. They're like the New York Yankees. You can't bottom out, not when you're charging the type of ticket prices you're charging, not when you are, again, you're fooling your fan base. And I hate to say that, because I'm not implying that the Dallas Cowboy fan base is stupid or sheep or anything like that. You're being worked. And I feel for you, because you're never going to bottom out, because that's, for franchises like the Cowboys, the Yankees, it's just too much pressure.
Yep.
You can't ever do that. And I guess, to be fair, ownership wouldn't do that to the fan base. But you're getting sold a bill of goods here that this owner actually wants to win a Super Bowl. And I know you say, no, he wants to win more than anybody. Where's the proof? Where's the proof that he wants to win more than anybody? He wants to keep you right where you are. He wants to keep you interested and attentive. He wants you to think that there's a shot. And then it doesn't matter to Jerry Jones. Nothing about Jerry Jones's life changes materially if he wins a Super Bowl or he keeps living this same life. He's powerful. He's rich. He's in the Hall of Fame. He doesn't care. And he's the number one guy. And at this point, if the Dallas Cowboys somehow are lucky enough to actually win a Super Bowl at all while Jerry Jones is alive, it will be in spite of Jerry Jones, not because of him. The credit that he so badly wants, he will not even get at this point.
But take a step back. What does Jerry Jones get out of keeping the franchise relevant and good? I mean, the guy's never in a million years going to be able to spend all his money. He's already got the Hall of Fame. What does he care if he's 12-5? What does anything except a Super Bowl ring mean anything? What does he have? So what? That's the only thing. It's the only thing he wants. He's going to look back. And I always say this with salaries too. What does LeBron James care if he gets $40 million more next year? He should just do anything he can to get one more championship, because those are invaluable.
Okay, well, I think LeBron really is trying to do something like that. I don't think that Jerry Jones
same thing happens with LeBron. That people think he's coasting in LA because it's comfortable.
No, I mean, they just went to the Western Conference Finals after they were having a terrible season. I don't think that's true. I think that, first of all, do not ever underestimate rich people wanting more money.
Well, I don't think money matters to him anymore. I think a championship is all he's got left to go. That's the only thing he thinks about, in my opinion.
I gave you this question. I'm going to give it to you again. If you gave Jerry Jones the option of winning a Super Bowl or never being able to make a public appearance or speak in public ever again, what do you think that he would pick?
Okay, let me ask you this. If you offered him $500 million for a Super Bowl ring, would he take it?
If I offer him $500 million or a Super Bowl
Yeah,
ring?
if you give me $500 million, Jerry, I'll give you a Super Bowl ring. Or you give me 80% of your wealth for one more ring. Would he do it?
I don't think so.
He'd do it in a heartbeat because he's got so much money it doesn't matter.
Well, we can talk about money. Again, I never underestimate rich people wanting to get richer. But you can also he wants the fame of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. The microphone, I agree with you. He would take the microphone, but I don't think this is about money. This is not about keeping the Cowboys profitable. All he wants is a Super Bowl. This is his only goal left. There's nothing else.
It's not a goal, guys. Like, wake up and smell what's going on here. It's unserious because keeping Mike McCarthy sends the signal that you're okay just being relevant and competitive. You don't actually care about winning. And the thing is I don't agree with you that the football postseason is like the baseball postseason. Baseball postseason to me really does feel kind of crapshooty. Like there is, a randomness perhaps that can exist with baseball where the super teams are generally the ones who don't end up winning unless you're like the Yankees in the 90s or something. But recently, it feels a lot more like luck or something. Football's not that way. Like, who's here year in and year out? The Patrick Mahomes is what's going to happen with San Francisco consistently beating your Dallas Cowboys. You can actually, if you do this correctly, you can give yourself an advantage, a real one. And Jerry doesn't want to do that because of the ego.
Well, the other thing, too, is, we would not even be having this conversation if it wasn't the Cowboys. If a coach came in and took over an 8-8 team and went 3 straight years of 12-5, in most franchises, that coach is not getting fired. It's an unusual situation because the Cowboys have this Super Bowl or bust mentality around them, which is ironically one of the reasons they were so tight on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. Listen, we're talking about a 12-5 coach, and we're making it sound like he's Rich Kotite with the Jets. Yeah. Mike McCarthy is a good coach. Is he a great coach? Probably not. Is he a big game coach? Definitely not. But still, if he was a coach at the Tennessee Titans and he was 12-5 3 straight years, no one's talking about firing him. So it is an unusual situation.
The Tennessee Titans just fired their head coach.
Who had 6 wins.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's the expectation that's set by the owner, and
right, because he wants a Super Bowl.
No, it's the expectation set by the owner because he wants you to keep coming back to the trough.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't care anymore. He knows you're coming back.
I feel this one does feel different because even Jerry himself said this is the worst loss that I've ever felt. And the fact is we could do a top 5 list of the worst losses and we could debate whether that Packers one was number 1 or not. I think you at some point you've beaten down everybody to the point where they don't trust you. You're going to get all the ire. Like Mike McCarthy, it almost feels like a waste of breath now to blame him. Like, he's not a good coach. He's not a big game coach. You're still going to blame Mike McCarthy?
But he's not a good coach.
ALCS a couple times.
Do you when you see Jerry in the offseason, when he gets into a room, he's not sitting around and telling everybody, all right, give me a plan so we can remain good and keep the fans in the seats and have these high TV ratings. He's saying one thing, how do we get a Super Bowl? I think he's singularly focused on this.
I disagree. Then how do you defend keeping McCarthy when you could have Jim Harbaugh?
I think Jerry thinks McCarthy gives him a chance. I think Jerry is at the
Then he's senile. And we should probably start talking about that. Because we all saw it, guys, and we've been seeing it. Hey, quickly, you're welcome to weigh in on this, by the way, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Can I also mention something where I'm seeing a comparison right now with the Dallas Cowboys? And it's the last team I ever thought I'd see it with. And it's the New England Patriots. So yesterday, Gerard Mayo gets introduced as the new head coach of the Patriots, and he was beyond impressive. Talk about winning a press conference. Chef's kiss. You can't do it any better. He was excellent. Actually, let's hear a little bit of Gerard Mayo. He first want to address, the elephant in the room where you can't expect him to be like Bill Belichick because he is not like Bill Belichick.
Now, Bill always says this, managing expectations. For me, I'm not trying to be Bill. I think that Bill is his own man. If you can't tell by now, I'm a little bit different even up here.
Yeah, it was very different. It was super direct. It wasn't evasive. It wasn't short. He expounded on things and expanded in a way that made sense. Everything about him is not like Bill Belichick. But they are making decisions right now and making moves that I do not think are going to work out well for the Patriots.
Why?
They are making moves like the Dallas Cowboys. Now, not all like the Cowboys, but some. First of all, number one, it is obvious that Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, is really taking over here. He's 83. He's really taking over to the point where he's now has inserted himself, maybe because he needed to, but he has inserted himself in a way where his voice is now going to be heard. He's sick and tired, I think, or became sick and tired of Bill Belichick basically giving him the stiff arm and saying, stay in your lane as an owner. 82, thank you. And now he wants some say. Mm-hmm. And he's making that known. So you get a meddling owner, if you want to look at it one way. Number two, you have a coach who's been coaching for 5 years in Gerard Mayo, great player, left to go to the business world, and then came back as a coach because Bill Belichick wanted him to coach, liked him, saw leadership qualities. He's been coaching for 5 years, and he's never really done it. Never done it anywhere else but New England. That means you're a Belichick disciple. You're a Belichick assistant. You might have played for other coaches, but you're a Belichick assistant. And what has been the fate that has befallen other Belichick assistants? They can say they're not like Bill, but they learned it all from Bill. And other Belichick assistants have not been successful in the NFL. In fact, there was a joke that they mentioned yesterday. Julian Edelman actually said it to, I think, Cowherd, that the nickname for Gerard Mayo when they were playing was Gerard Belichick. Yeah. Because he was so much like Belichick. I think that and thirdly and lastly, we did not get a very clear answer on who the general manager is going to be for the Patriots moving forward. Is it going to be someone in-house? I think they said that's their preference, but they are going to open it up and see kind of what's out there. I think if you go in-house, you're just continuing the Belichick thing, which really has not shown you that player personnel has been like the gold standard over the last few years. And if you go outside of the organization, you're now marrying a head coach and a general manager when these two guys didn't choose each other. Yep. And I just feel like I've got mountains and mountains of evidence when the GM doesn't help select the coach, where you end up with a real strong difference of opinion there. More often than not, those two guys end up butting heads.
Got it. Show bet. Gerard Mayo is the best hire of this cycle. And that's a cycle that includes Bill Belichick, maybe Vrabel, Dan Quinn. Mayo's, everything I've ever heard about him is he's a superstar in the making. And your logic is dead on. Belichick assistants have been bad, but he is so different than Matt Patricia and Eric Mangini and Josh McDaniels. He just feels so different personality-wise. He has been, since he was a player, they were talking about him as a leader of men. And the other thing I like is, unlike Dallas, they're ripping the Band-Aid. Mayo's in his mid-30s. Yep. They have to give this guy time so he can actually build organically. I understand that thing about the GM. That's a great point, too. But I think Robert Kraft, he's 82, but I think he's looking at a 3 or 4 year window where Gerard Mayo gets to make his imprint on this team. I don't think anyone expects him to be good next year. They don't have any players. Right. Everyone knows that. So I think this is a really, really good situation. I'm falling for the press conference, which I vowed never to do. Yeah. Just reputation. I think Gerard Mayo is going to be a star. Listen, I think he's going to be a coaching star. He's totally different than Bill Belichick. His style is way different. They're going to be defense first at first, but eventually, and it could be this year, they're going to get a franchise quarterback in there, and it's going to be fun.
Okay, so here's more from Gerard Mayo on how things need to change now that he's in charge.
I think the information flow has kind of been like put on one person, and that's coach. And look, he's able to handle that. Me as a first-year head coach, I don't want to act like I have all the answers. I'm in the learning phase, whether learning from the scouts or learning from coaches, learning from the craft film, even learning from you, right, in the media. I work in the media, but at the same time, even that relationship between coaches and players in the media, I see it differently. And I want to improve that relationship and hopefully just improve the overall vibe of it.
Yeah, I said also he wants to, break down silos, and he wants to, repair some relationships, which was, an interesting way to put it. But You're asking for a lot here. Listen, maybe this is a situation like the Green Bay quarterbacks where you just go from one guy to the next guy and it's just seamless.
Well, it's going to take a little time. They're not going to be immediately successful like Belichick was at New England. But let's say Drake May falls to 3. Let's say Jaden Daniel goes to 3.
Yeah.
You know that they can coach the defense. You know the defense is going to be adequate. That's New England. Gerard Mayo has been doing that. So it feels, I mean, you just get the right guy in there. Obviously, Houston. I don't know. I feel like this is just set up for such a good turnaround. And he seems like such a good football guy.
Yeah, I'm just saying we've got lots and lots of evidence to the contrary.
And one thing I think is important to note, too, and they talked about this a lot during the press conference yesterday, the Patriots have a ton of cap space.
Yeah.
And they are really excited about the opportunity to potentially really flip this roster around this offseason with that cap space, going after free agents, making trades. So they're going to be an interesting team to follow. Kraft gave me the impression that they're going to be very aggressive. And what's the name? Gerard Mayo made no bones about it. They are taking a quarterback in the draft.
Can I tell you they're the number 3 pick? What if they get Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3, then Bo Nix or Michael Penix at the top of the second round?
Wait, let's hear the audio of him talking about the quarterback situation.
Right, that's right. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. What I will say is this. We're going to draft the best player for a position that is very important. You put the pieces together.
I'm telling you guys, this is more fodder for my argument here about mistakes that you make, and these are rookie mistakes.
Well,
First
why
of all,
is drafting a quarterback a rookie mistake?
Well, you don't have the number 1 overall pick, so you're not going to get your first choice no matter what. This is dangerous with a quarterback. When you need one so badly, you can start seeing things that maybe aren't there. Like, you got to be careful here when you get so zoned in on quarterback. Sometimes you think the player maybe is a little bit better than they are because you're desperate for one. And
but also
ask the Steelers about Kenny Pickett. I mean, they were desperate for a quarterback. They took him. I don't know if he was worth that first round grade. I know he had good stats in college, but when you're desperate for a quarterback is when you make mistakes with quarterback.
But also, all the analytics show top 10 picks quarterback. You have a much better success the higher you take a quarterback. Pickett went 21. Number 3. I know there's been some famous busts.
Zach Wilson then.
There's been some famous busts at 3, but still, like, your odds are way better than 21. Listen, Pittsburgh.
Still about 50-50.
50-50 is not bad.
I'm just saying, though, when you're desperate for the quarterback position, I think you end up seeing things you don't want to see.
That's why I would go with the future Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3. Then there's such a deep quarterback draft that you can't go wrong. Just because Gerard Mayo says that today doesn't mean they're guaranteed. So the question is, too,
who's making the pick, by the way? You don't have a general manager. The head coach just basically told the media and, by extension, the fan base, you're getting a quarterback. What if the GM comes in and wants Perloff's idea? What if he wants Marvin Harrison Jr.? You're already setting up tension.
Well, Mayo said that he's willing to take input. You and I can make the number 3 pick, and we have a really good chance of getting the right guy. This is number 3. It's not exactly. You don't need, a rocket scientist to pick number 3. So I think they're fine. I just think, okay, everything you said, you said all these things are so true logically. But what if Gerard Mayo's just the guy? He might be a guy. I mean, that's the thing. Logic-wise, that roster sucks. The ownership group is probably too interventionist. But some guys are just that good, and I think Mayo is going to be that good. I'm all about him.
One small other detail that I found interesting about this, maybe this is a little insidery, as we're talking about Gerard Mayo's introductory press conference yesterday in New England. Jonathan Kraft wasn't there. The president of the team. Not in attendance. Tending to something else, some other business.
Think it's a succession deal?
I don't know.
Well, there was a report yesterday that Kraft doesn't want to be the GM. That was a lot of people were scared that Jonathan was going to take over the GM job. So now we know that's not happening. It was reported by, that's good, right?
I'm telling you, I see the parallels now. The Krafts are looking a lot like the Joneses, maybe. I know Stephen Jones would never miss a press conference.
It's the exact opposite.
No, but they're meddling. They're in. I don't know what's going on with Jonathan. I just found that interesting that he wasn't at the press conference, but he's still the president of the team. They want to be involved.
No, but it's really good. Jonathan, they actually had the reporters say Jonathan's not going to be the football guy.
No, he won't.
So that's really good.
Okay, well, let's see. They haven't hired.
He wasn't at the press conference
I know,
yesterday.
but that doesn't mean he doesn't want influence. And if you read the ESPN report that came out, he was the one who was really galvanizing behind getting Belichick out of the building. So they're making mistakes here. Maybe Gerard Mayo's so good it won't matter, but they're making
also,
mistakes.
the other thing, unlike Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, the bar is really low right now. They were awful the last 2 years.
That's
so, yeah, I mean, is anybody going to be mad if Mayo doesn't win immediately?
Okay, but
I doubt it.
That's the thing. You can't say that they have no expectations, but then say how tough it is to follow a legend. You know, there are going to be expectations because you're following up Belichick, just like there are in Kalen DeBoer at Alabama.
But it's so different because Saban was at the top of his game. Belichick was at the bottom of his game. This feels more like Jimmy Johnson taking over for Tom Landry. They're two totally different situations.
855-212-4CBS, Maggie and Perloff, you're welcome to weigh in. Coming up, a lot more to do, including some destinations for your favorite quarterback who might be switching teams. We'll do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show, CBS Sports Radio. Now, I'm the kind of sports fan who will pull over my car and wait 10 minutes if I have to, if there's any kind of trade rumor. I love trade rumors.
More
I love
than mock drafts?
Mock drafts and trade rumors are my lifeblood. So EJ dropped one on me that I did not see coming because I assumed this player was untradeable. But EJ is going to do the impossible and give us trade destination for Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett. I don't know how you're going to do this, dude.
Oh, I'm ready. I think I'm going to be able to get this done. Okay. So not only do I have one, I have two, but there was one that definitely inspired. So yesterday, Kenny Pickett, MIA, when it came to the exit interviews for the media. I think he talked to the coaches or whatever, but he didn't do any Q&A with the media. Other players did, of course.
Listen, look what happens. Mike Tomlin walks off the podium, and now star quarterbacks feel like they can blow off the media.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, all right, this may be the end of Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh. Where could we go? And something immediately jumped out. Quarterback for quarterback swap. Send Kenny Pickett to Denver for Russell Wilson and bring him into Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson's used to playing in bad weather, played in Seattle. Give Russell Wilson a freak athlete type wide receiver like a George Pickens to a DK Metcalf.
Yep.
And Denver, give Sean Payton a better athlete at quarterback, a guy he can really groom, a guy who he can mold into the kind of quarterback he wants to be, as opposed to having Russell be who he is already.
Right.
I think that fit is really a match made in heaven for both teams for what they can get at this point.
My first thing was, man, good thing this isn't the NBA and the salaries wouldn't have to match up. Because
right, exactly. That would be a little bit of a hurdle.
That'd be the whole team for one.
There's lots of speculation. By the way, I'm not poo-pooing this. I'm just saying a lot of people have been connecting Russell to the Steelers.
Right.
But nobody's been connecting. Why would Sean Payton want Kenny Pickett? That's what I don't understand.
Well, who's he got now?
He's got Russell Wilson right now. When you look at the options,
I'd rather have Stidham than Pickett. I'd rather have.
I think
there's a lot of pressure on Sean Payton to win. I think Kenny Pickett is a real dangerous proposition there.
No, I think that Denver has shown they have a really good defense. And what they need right now is a guy who they can mold into the Sean Payton system. Like right now, I think their problem more than anything else, Russell Wilson played okay, but the problem is he's a bad fit with Sean Payton. So give him a guy with some talent, because Kenny Pickett was a first-round pick. I think he has some talent. And a guy he can really mold and say, hey, this is how you need to play the quarterback position. Also, give him a much bigger upgrade in coaching. I mean, he was learning from Matt Canada. I mean, maybe if you give him Sean Payton, there's a possibility he can get to that first-round grade that he had.
Fair.
So that's my first place. But then the second place, and now I'm like, I can send Kenny Pickett anywhere. I think there are plenty of places he can go.
One last thing, though, about the Steelers. You send Russell Wilson, who does not have the escapability that he used to have, and you send him to the AFC North. He's going to take some major hits. I mean, you're facing the Baltimore defense twice a year, Myles Garrett. That I'd be a little concerned about that. Okay, what's destination number 2?
Number 2, send Kenny Pickett to Minnesota. Minnesota's in a weird position. They're in a kind of they're kind of in limbo. Like, you know, is Kirk Cousins thing going to work? Like, is he the guy? Like, they have a lot of young skill players, but an older quarterback,
right?
And they don't really know where they are. They may want to hit like a semi-rebuild button and say, let's get a young guy in here that we can develop and give him a year trial and see what that goes with. Again, KOC gets a quarterback that he can kind of mold into what he wants. And maybe Pittsburgh gets Kirk Cousins.
Well, it's an upgrade in coaching again for the offensive side with Kevin O'Connell as your quarterback. I
don't think Kwesi wants Cousins. Every time he has to talk to the GM of the every time he talks about Cousins, it's like talking about your mother-in-law. Like the way he talks about Cousins is like, he's nice.
Yeah, she's all right.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't think Minnesota can afford to downgrade to Kenny Pickett. Like, what are they going to be? If Kenny Pickett was a Viking starting quarterback, how many wins would you predict? 6?
Got to be honest.
7?
Kirk Cousins will be linked to every team in the NFL, like from Miami to.
Oh, I think Cousins.
He's coming off an Achilles.
Still, I think Cousins is so perfect. I thought they'd probably be still alive in the playoffs if Kirk Cousins had been playing this year. It feels like a marriage made in heaven for Minnesota. I think I'm way farther down on Kenny Pickett than you. I think people will be so disappointed in both Denver and Minnesota if Pickett was actually. Are you talking about him as a backup or as a?
Oh no, he's the starter at these places. Kenny Pickett, the last 2 seasons, he was 7-5 as the starting quarterback, so he's been a winner. I mean, there's no denying that. He's won games. He's been great in late season, and I think that he was a quarterback that when he got drafted in the first round, it wasn't some surprise that there were teams that definitely liked him.
Yeah,
it's just that I think he went to the worst situation possible. He went to a team that had no offensive plan for how to figure out how to maximize his strengths. So take him to 2 coaches who definitely can do that and also mold them into what they want him to be. And those 2 franchises that are kind of in limbo with the older quarterbacks that they have, they could say, hey, give me your young quarterback and give me multiple firsts, and here, you could have, maybe not Russell Wilson, but for Kirk Cousins, you could have Kirk Cousins and maybe for Russell Wilson a third or whatever. Right. I think the Denver and the Minnesota spot makes sense for Kenny Pickett.
Inspired, EJ. Thank you.
Pretty good. Pretty
chew
good.
on that a little bit as Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines.
If we have Denver and Minnesota fans, they are groaning. They're like, oh my God, if we're stuck with Kenny Pickett. I'm not sure. I'm looking. New Orleans picked 19 the year that Pickett went 20, and Peyton was still there, so he passed on him once. And I assume Minnesota passed on Pickett too. I think he's so far down. I think he's a backup next year, EJ, which is maybe interesting. He's not starting week 1, is he?
I mean,
another part of the question.
He probably should have been playing in the playoffs. Let's be real. Now that we saw what Mason Rudolph did.
Yes, and I said bench Rudolph at halftime and put Pickett in. You guys were like, impossible. Like, I don't know. Mason Rudolph isn't helping you in this wild card game. He ended up having a better second half to his credit. But
on a freezing night, I thought he played pretty good. Anyway.
Could have helped Kenny Pickett's trade value if he
I
comes
want
in.
to see Kenny Pickett in a dome. Put him in no elements weather too. I think he'd be a lot better.
Yeah, every quarterback.
Which gets back to, of course, small hands. Get him inside. I got to admit, physically too, there's definitely some Kirk Cousins there. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. EJ's like, get him inside. Get him a smaller ball. Get him
Deflate gate 2.
Make it 7-on-7. All right, Bogues, what do you got?
I got the Cowboys. As we've all heard this morning, they are officially keeping Mike McCarthy. Nick Sirianni is still the Eagles head coach following yesterday's reported season-ending meeting with ownership and GM Howie Roseman. They were reportedly discussing possible coordinator hires, which seems to be a fairly good sign for Sirianni. The head coach at least has the support of D lineman Fletcher Cox.
So what is it to talk about, man? Because, man, he's a winner. He's a winning head coach. Do we have some bumps this year? Yeah, but every team, every organization, everybody goes through it. But we don't look at firing a man who, obviously has won 10-plus games 2 years in a row, that's took his organization to 3 playoff appearances 3 years in a row.
As for teams still in the playoffs, the Ravens have added Dalvin Cook to their active roster while waiving fellow running back Melvin Gordon ahead of Saturday's game with the Texans.
Hey, quick question. If the players all of a sudden now like Nick Sirianni, then what the heck happened?
Why'd they quit on the season?
Yeah, I don't understand. I think it's a lack of talent on the defensive, especially the back 4, but it does seem like now the players like him because they didn't show up for him in the last 6 weeks of the season.
Well, look at who they're asking. In what world would Fletcher Cox say anything bad about the organization? They're not exactly chasing down A.J. Brown.
Well, Fletcher Cox is at the end. He doesn't care. He might not even be back.
This is why you don't say anything. It's like,
they go into definitely the more mature guys. Lane Johnson, Cox, Kelsey.
Yeah, come on. These guys, alienating the organization on the way out does nothing for them. They're legends.
I totally hear you, but it does seem like there's a cognitive dissonance here. Like all of a sudden, the players say Nick Sirianni's a great coach, but they weren't playing for him. So my only point is something happened here.
Yeah.
What it is, I can't wait to
I
find
wonder if
out.
it's more of a locker room thing. Like, and we've heard that some of what we saw in that Lane Johnson, cut we played yesterday was him talking about body language. Like, this may be a player's issue. Like, these players may not get along.
Well, I think, too, they're so when you see your defense blow 15 tackles, the entire people are like, oh, what are we going to do now? So, whatever.
Things are going real well, meanwhile, for the LA Clippers these days. They're winning games. They'll host the 2026 All-Star Game. Kawhi's got his extension. One's expected soon for Paul George. And James Harden never wants to leave.
I'm here home, we have opportunity. Like, I want to be able to keep a core together for a few years, And I hasn't had that opportunity these last few years. So things are going well, and I'm happy.
Haven't had the opportunities the last few years because of me.
Enough of this guy.
So unless he's retiring next Wednesday, I don't know how you can believe him that he'll finish his career with the Clippers. But that's the story for now.
Also, like, shocker, you're from LA and you'd like to finish your career in LA.
But to be fair though, has any person ever said I want to retire a Clipper?
That's
that's a good point.
I mean, I don't.
I just stared off into the distance for a second. Did Blake Griffin ever lie and say it?
He definitely would have been a lie. That's for sure.
Chris Paul probably lied and said it, right?
Can we just fast forward until May and 2 for 14 in a Game 7 for James Harden? Because we all know where this movie goes. He said the same thing with the Sixers. Oh, my gosh.
That's what I loved about that quote, because he said, I said the same thing with my last team. So I'm like, I don't know, if I was a Clipper fan, that's like when your girlfriend's like, oh, yeah, I told you, tell it to my ex. I'm like, well, I'm here now.
How can they, by the way, you said they're going to pay Paul, so they're paying Kawhi Leonard $150 million. They're going to pay Paul George.
The same thing.
They're going to pay, James Harden will find money. And is the other guy still there even? I don't.
Westbrook is still there.
The other guy.
But at least he's not getting that kind of deal from those guys.
Okay.
He's
But
still
it does seem
different.
like that's a lot of money into 3 very old players.
It will probably end terribly.
Think about
seems
it.
like it's going to end terribly, right?
Okay, but think about the budget they have just for the toilets. I mean, you've got a big enough toilet budget.
But there's no toilet cap in the NFL. There's no. Thank God, there's no toilet cap in the NFL. The salary cap seems like it's going to be a problem.
Somehow the toilets might have to come out there and start playing D. You're not going to have a
Do
lot.
the toilets have the bird rights? How does that work? On the court last night, LeBron, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell all scored more than 25 as the Lakers down the Mavs 127-110. The Raptors traded Pascal Siakam to the Pacers, then hammered the Heat 121-97. And the Celtics are 20-0 at home after a 117-98 final over the Spurs. Victor Wembanyama, 27 points in his Boston debut. We also have Newport Beach, California police ending their investigation into Thunder player Josh Giddey, who was accused of an inappropriate relationship with a minor. The allegation surfaced on social media around Thanksgiving. The police say detectives were unable to corroborate any criminal activity. Men's top 25 action last night. 8th-ranked Kentucky beat Mississippi State 90-77. That's win number 400 with the Wildcats for John Calipari. Top-seeded Iga Swiatek needed 3 sets to survive American Danielle Collins in round 2 of the Aussie Open. American Jess Pegula lost today, but Sloane Stephens did reach the 3rd round. Carlos Alcaraz among the winners on the men's side. And the Sabres and Blackhawks couldn't play hockey in Buffalo last night because of another travel ban because of more snow. They will try again tonight. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Got a lot to do, including what did Perloff send everybody on the show with an email that said, important article, please read.
Did I get that?
Me and EJ.
Yeah.
I'll forward it to you.
No, I'm good.
Important article, please read. 855-212-4CBS. What was so important that Perloff had to tell us? We'll get to that in just moments. Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Get to the article that Perloff shared with us yesterday that said, important article, please read. Do that after Francois is joining us from Dallas, wants to weigh in on Mike McCarthy, and he's sticking around. Hey, Francois, how are you?
I'm doing terrific. Yourself?
Good to hear from you. Haven't heard from you since we moved from the afternoons to the morning, so I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've got two comments if I could make them, and then if you could put me on hold so I could hear your response, I'd appreciate it.
You got it.
First of all, I'm an objective Cowboy fan. I don't drink the Kool-Aid. And I told everybody they weren't going anywhere, and I didn't think they'd get destroyed, but I thought that they would lose.
Yeah.
But I don't think the issue, and a lot of people disagree with me, I don't think the issue is Mike. I think the issue is players. Players make coaches look good. Now, there's some coaching that has to go into it, but the defensive side of football, the Cowboys don't have any interior defensive tackles that can stuff the run. DeMarcus Lawrence has never been a sack guy, right?
Except
Sam
for Eli
Williams
Manning.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Sam Williams gave you no production. Dorrance Armstrong gave you no production. You had no linebackers, so they had to play that way. So their defense was a mirage. It was an aberration.
Yeah.
Because they gave up 222 to Arizona, 266 to Buffalo. So those are all red flags right there. And on the offensive side of the football, Dak is not a winner in the postseason. Your offensive line was average at best, and then you've got two average running backs behind it.
Yeah.
So
If
when
that.
you put all that together, that spells doom in the playoffs.
Francois, I mean, listen,
Yeah.
it's a great point. You go through the roster and appreciate the phone call. Oh, sorry, I just dropped him. He's asked to put him on hold, and I didn't do that. Darn it. Sorry, Francois.
He's got a great point. You know what we did wrong? The Cowboys showed us who they were in Buffalo, and we assumed, led by me, that it was the weather. That it was crappy weather, so like Dallas didn't want to show up. But that's who they were. You could run all over them, and I
Okay.
think the formula came out later in the year.
I'm not going to fall for that because I know that the schedule wasn't crazy tough, but they had a 5-game winning streak, and the last two were Seahawks and Eagles. And at the time, I don't think we knew the Eagles were as bad as they ended up being. This is like week 12 or something.
The Eagles had already been blown up by San Francisco, and their defense was falling apart badly.
Okay, but the Eagles got the benefit of the doubt for quite a while because it was like, all right, this is obviously getting worse and worse.
But look, they
beat Seattle.
But they let up 35 points against Seattle, and then they went into Buffalo, and they let up all these running yards. And then they didn't really play well against Miami and Detroit. They lost to a pretty mediocre Miami team. Their run, people had figured out their defense.
Okay.
I totally agree. Francois used a great term, mirage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shiny talent, but there wasn't a lot of solidified there.
We explained a lot of it away, too, which is they're just a different team on the road, which
Yeah,
is
we
why
did
we
that
thought
too.
that this was going to be a different hosting a wild card game. Well, more fallout from the Dallas Cowboys sticking with Mike McCarthy. And again, I apologize to Francois. He specifically said put me on hold, and I did not do it. Okay. Perloff sends an article yesterday. Important article. Please read. Would you like to read the headline where we're supposed to stop in our tracks and read this article?
I didn't want this to pass by. You get a lot of emails, and I thought this was a story that was worthy of being on the Maggie and Perloff show. All right, here's the headline from the New York Post. Passenger trapped in airplane bathroom for entire flight. Gets note from attendant. Sir, we tried our best. I don't know why this is my worst nightmare. A guy who's in India flying from Mumbai to Bengaluru got stuck for the entire 2-hour flight in the bathroom and could not get out. Apparently, all the people in the rows came out and all the flight staff trying to get him out. Everyone was banging. There were tools used and they could not get him out. And he had to spend the entire time in the toilet on the whole trip.
So the handwritten note, sir, we tried our best to open the door. However, we could not open it. Do not panic. We're landing in a few minutes, so please close the commode lid and sit on it and secure yourself. As soon as the main doors open, engineer will come. Again, do not panic.
There's no seatbelts in that room, as I recall.
He was in there for an hour and 45 minutes. Oh. So claustrophobic. It wouldn't even occur to me, of course you have to close the lid of the toilet. Ugh.
Oh.
Who knows how bumpy it gets on the landing?
And that's not even a perfect seal when you close it too. Like there's still the danger of a bump,
a
knocking.
slosh.
Yeah,
covered in blue.
Also, give New York Post some journalism credit. They called it his solitary confinement. Every day I get about 9 articles about weird things that happen on airlines from the New York Post because they know I'm going to click on it. They figured out the algorithm. And this one I could not let go.
I mean, how long would you last? I mean, you have no choice here, but.
It can't smell great in there.
No.
Oh, and especially if it's towards the end.
Do you know
of
what the name of the airline is? The Spice Jet, which makes me even more nervous.
I thought this was an Onion article when I saw that, but it's real.
Wait, not the Spice Jet, like it's a Spice Girl.
It's
The Spice Jet.
Yeah. Well, have you ever heard of that? I'm sorry, I haven't.
No, I've never heard of it. I've also never been to India.
It's like the Southwest Airlines of India, Spice Jet.
The planes are really decorated, quite fun. But, that's as bad.
It was the only bathroom on the plane where people were unable to go because of this?
They never reported on that.
You know what that?
Because that's a huge problem.
There's a new problem.
Check the smell on the rest of the plane.
Aisle 27 smells a little weird.
Also, what were they serving?
Clean up on aisle 31.
Well, hopefully an hour 45 flight, there was no food. So hopefully that's all right.
So did I create a show foul there by saying important email?
Well, you cried wolf a little bit. I mean, I thought I was getting something like our boss is now leaving. We found that out yesterday. So congratulations to our boss, Spike Eskin, who's going to be taking over afternoons in Philadelphia. So we had some big news going around the office.
No one told me that either. There's two things that was left off of yesterday.
Important article. Please read. Man stuck in bathroom.
We're doing so much planning for the Super Bowl too that I'm thinking, as a producer, okay, yes, some important things to get ready for Vegas, and then I read this.
Well, this is
man trapped in crapper.
Yes, on Spice Jet.
Can't find me.
This is important. It could happen to you.
Yeah.
So it's the moral of the story.
I'm with you on this one.
Just hold it the whole plane ride?
Well, that guy didn't have to hold. That guy could do his business and take his time.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of an advantage. You don't got to worry about an aisle seat for him.
Yeah. That's why I take the aisle seat in case I have to go to the bathroom. And by the way, side story, there's something really uncomfortable that's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's between you two.
Yeah. I got to tell you, me and EJ might be sitting next to each other on the flight to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. I'm going to be pretend to be locked in the bathroom for an hour and a half.
It's fun to be on the same flight as a colleague, but then when you're sitting right next to them, it's like, hey, what are you reading?
No, it's great. We can share an Uber. We can check in and say, yo, what? Yeah.
That would be good. But the discovery of how this happened was wild.
Wait, what I said?
Well, no, you're like, I'm leaving 1:15. I'm like, I think my flight's 1:15. I'm on JetFlu. You're just like, oh no.
Like Romo Nance.
Here's Perloff. It's gonna be the Shining by the time.
This is gonna be like a preview for Perloff when he drives to San Antonio with Bogusch. It's just gonna be a shorter version.
We spend all day together. How long are we? It's gonna take 15 minutes till I'm out of conversation. So, EJ, tell me about your childhood. What are we gonna do on this flight?
Here's Tony.
Help, I'm stuck in the bathroom and I can't get out.
Do you know that man? No, absolutely not.
What a day. Thank you, DJ Stewart. Thank you to Peopleati, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, Guidos, coffee drinkers, and callers. See you tomorrow.
What a day. Here's Tony.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.